that is ITCAFpodcast. Man, oh man, it is a special one because after our 2-week hiatus, I got that nice sun glow, that Mexican glow from down under. Man, oh man, it was a beautiful honeymoon, but I'm super excited to be back, and especially coming back into listening to an amazing conversation that you had with Rhiannon Fish. It was absolutely amazing. A roller coaster, but in a good way.
Oh, yeah, no. We certainly hit every level of emotion in the interview, no doubt about it. But she was a pure gem to talk to. She's just as sweet as can be. But we had a lot of fun. We talked about the career and how she navigated going from a child actress to an adult actor and the ups and downs of that. And then we dove deep into therapy because she had to take some time off and go into therapy. And we just talk about the sexualization of women in the industry. And we get real deep, but then we bring it back out. We get fun again with the popcorn questions, and she had some really cute answers with the popcorn questions. So, yeah, man, it was a really entertaining interview. We had really fun. It was really fun.
Yes, I'm super excited for everybody to hear that, but that's later on the show. Now, let's get a little crazy. Hello, everyone. So you want to start a podcast but have no idea where to start? Well, Crazy Ant Media is here to help you. We want to assist you finding your VFE. What's VFE, you ask? Well, that is your voice, your format, and your equipment. These are the 3 biggest essentials you need to start your podcast. All those hours watching non-stop YouTube videos or all those random website links, those are done. Just hop on a Zoom call with us and we'll talk about everything you need to know to create your own podcast and find your voice. Plus, we will send you home with a 12-page packet over everything we just discussed. It's very in-depth. It is definitely a must-need while trying to start your first podcast. Contact us at info@crazyantmedia.com today so that you can start finding your podcast voice for tomorrow. What's up, guys? Oh my goodness. Welcome back to ITCAFpodcast, episode 261. And you guys know your host with the most, myself, J-Lo Fantastic, and the one and only Mouth.
What's up? I haven't been able to clear my throat like that in a while, in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. It's been, you just been waiting on the show.
You just can't walk around going, what's up? You know, it's
Yeah, exactly. Unless you're like the Scream character in the scary movies.
That's right. Or the Budweiser frogs, right?
Yeah, exactly. But man, oh man, it feels good to be back. Thank you all for your patience with our 2-week hiatus. It was absolutely necessary. Not only are we searching for crew in our pre-production stage of our film, The Lesson Plan, that you can follow the LP Film on Instagram and Threads right now. But I also went on my honeymoon, and boy, oh boy, was that so relaxing, completely disconnected. And I gotta say, a cruise is like nothing else that I've ever experienced before, to be honest with you. I mean, while we were on it, I was kind of like, okay, this is interesting, just trying to figure out my sea legs. But afterwards, now, Emily and I are ready to go back. We're ready to completely disconnect again. It was a once-in-a-lifetime type of thing, just to connect with each other. I mean, a honeymoon, you would hopefully think
you would hope,
time, right? But I mean, it was something that was truly special, and I enjoyed every second of it. But it feels good to be back, and it feels good to be back talking about industry news, new shows we've been watching, all of these things. Because I mean, right now Netflix is killing it with all of this original content. I've been watching Eric with Benedict Cumberbatch and Tires with Shane Gillis. So I mean, those two. It's been fun to dive back into the television world for sure.
Oh, yeah, and I've been jumping. I checked out the Bratz documentary on Hulu, and I started Presumed Innocent with Jake Gyllenhaal on also Apple TV Plus, and that was like, man, that's pretty intense, pretty deep. So you look out for that one, guys. But I highly recommend, if you are a product of the 80s or came up in the 80s and you are familiar with the Brat Pack, you do not want to miss Bratz. It's a great documentary where Andrew McCarthy just goes back and interviews the Brat Pack and talks about what it did to them and how they came through it and how they have an appreciation for it now when they hated it when it happened. And so it's a great little documentary. Highly recommend.
For sure, man, for sure. And before teasing the rest of this show, of course, be sure to leave a rating on this podcast. Comment below and tell us what you actually think about this podcast.
Yes.
Because leaving a rating actually helps this show get seen by more people who enjoy entertainment news, but especially those who enjoy or are trying to break into the entertainment industry. We are your one-stop shop for the entertainment news, and of course, we love passing along that knowledge to the up-and-comers trying to break into the entertainment industry. That's why we love talking to our guests. They're able to tell you their trajectory and their journey while becoming a creative in this crazy world we call the entertainment industry.
Yes.
And it helps the up-and-comers try to break into it, to try to navigate how to approach their own life and their own career. So this show is definitely very special, and we can't thank you all enough for coming back every single week for 261 episodes and getting crazy with us. That's for sure. We cannot thank you enough.
Yes.
But we definitely do have a jam-packed show for you guys this week. It's super exciting because Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson recently, and Danny Garcia, I mean, we always just say Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, but his business partner and ex-wife, I always feel bad saying that.
Yeah.
It should just be his business partner. They signed a deal with Disney, and we're going to be diving into all the intricacies of that.
Yes.
But we're also going to be talking about Warner Brothers, of course. Paramount. What's Sherry Redstone doing? She pulled out of a Skydance deal. But, I mean, I listened to a different podcast that brought an interesting perspective, so I'm excited to talk about that a little bit. And so much more, guys. We're super excited just to be back. That is for sure. But then you guys know, before getting into everything, be sure to head over to our website, www.crazyantmedia.com, where you can start rocking the latest and greatest Crazy Ant Media gear. We got the shirts, we got the hats, we got phone cases, tumblers, purses, stuffed animals, all of the different things that you need in your day-to-day life, and especially with Father's Day right around the corner, picking them up something crazy on our website. That is for sure. Man, oh man, we're super excited about it because, like we said, after our 2-week hiatus, it always feels good to be back to talk about the industry news.
Yes.
And one of the biggest things, of course, coming out this weekend, y'all, is Inside Out 2. That's right. We're starting with Disney, the juggernaut, our favorite. Man, oh man. Box office, right? What's going on? It's not been a huge summer at the box office, and no doubt Disney is looking to reclaim the top of that food chain. That's for sure. But any doubt that Disney Plus has kept Pixar fans at home and out of movie theaters, well, that theory can just go away now because the window as Inside Out 2 is heading for the biggest opening of the year to date. Early tracking was at 85 million, but now we're talking 120 to 130 million with 4,440 theaters domestically. Man, oh man. And Inside Out 2 scored 56 million at the box office Thursday night, which is crazy, man. Including, actually that was Friday-ish, and including last night's 13 million.
Yeah.
Now, sources do say that there's a huge turnout by Hispanic and Latino moviegoers and walk-ups, hence the big business. Now, the original Inside Out hit theaters in June of 2015, and that opened to $90.5 million domestically after a $3.7 million in previews. It went on to gross about $356 million in North America and $856.8 million globally as families flocked to the surprisingly poignant coming-of-age film with a $200 million budget. Now, Inside Out 2 should near the highs of the original and maybe even surpass that for sure. And I mean, a lot of people have been talking about it, and this is going to be the big family film of the summer. So head out to your local movieplexes and get a little crazy with your kids. That's for sure.
Yeah, man, no doubt. And I'm excited about that. 13 million in previews beat all of the other Thursday night previews for recent animated films, except for the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. So, I mean, it's kicking ass, and I think it's off to a good start. But that's not it. Disney plans on following that success up with another franchise that they own, Marvel Studios, right? They own Pixar, they own Marvel. Well, guess what, guys? Marvel Studios' Deadpool and Wolverine hit 6-week tracking. There's a company called The Quorum that tracks these things 6 weeks out. And according to them, it is now reporting a projection of a $200 to $240 million opening weekend, which the service actually believes is on the conservative side. They think it might actually be even higher than that. Now, there has never been an R-rated movie that has opened over $200 million before. So if the Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman threequel can bust that sphere, it'll be an anomaly. It's never happened. It's never been done. The current record for an R-rated opening at the domestic box office is, can you guess? The original Deadpool, which posted $132.4 million back in February of 2016. I can't even believe it's been that long ago. Even if, though, Deadpool and Wolverine comes in at just $150 million opening, it would still be the biggest opening for both Reynolds and Hugh Jackman. Now, at that level, it'll also be the highest opening of the summer, besting even this weekend's anticipated now $130 million start for Inside Out 2. Deadpool and Wolverine can't get here soon enough. It opens July 26th. I am so freaking pumped for that movie. I want it to hit 300 million people. Let's go. Let's fucking, like it says in the trailer, let's fucking go. Go out there and watch that movie.
Yes, it's going to be super exciting. I almost pre-bought our ticket, so I'm super pumped.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Ready to freaking
yes.
go.
I'll be there.
But
we're
man,
going.
man, yeah, right? Exactly. But somebody else who is ready to go and get out of Marvel, that's for sure,
yeah.
is the latest Blade director. Jan Demange is no longer set to direct Blade for Marvel Studios. Now, this thing's been in the works since 2019, guys. That was the first time they announced Mahershala Ali was going to come on board as the new iteration of Blade.
Yep.
Now, as you know, if you've been listening to the show for a while, this is the second director to leave this project. Now, Demange departed this film amicably a few weeks ago, as development on the project has stretched over multiple years, like I just said. Screenwriter Eric Pearson, who co-wrote the Fantastic Four for Marvel, is the latest scribe to take on the Blade script after at least 5 other writers have taken passes at the film, including Michael Green, Stacey O'Shea Kufor, Michael Starbury, Bo DiMeo, and Nick Pizzolatto. While Marvel has not officially moved Blade off of its November 7th of 2025 release date calendar, it is increasingly unlikely that the project will be ready for production in time to make that date. Now, Marvel first announced this film, like I said, back in 2019 at San Diego's Comic-Con, after Ali met with Kevin Feige to pitch himself to headline a reboot of the franchise, which was once led by Wesley Snipes in a trilogy spanning from 98 to 2004. I have a theory that we're never going to see this film.
I was just going to say that it's not going to happen. And if we do, it's not going to be with Mahershala Ali, because his agent gave a statement to the Hollywood Reporter saying, we signed this deal in 2019 and it's still not made. I've never seen anything like this in Hollywood ever. If the agent's getting frustrated, they're going to back out of that deal. Ali's going to be gone soon. He can't keep hanging around for this shit. I think you're right. I think we don't see this anytime soon, if at all. And if we do see it, it's not going to be with Ali. I'm just saying. And I wouldn't stay around. I don't blame him. I really don't blame him. All right, now talking about the big thing that you led with at the top of the show, teasing $7 Productions. You guys know who it is. The film and TV content label founded by the one and only Rock Dwayne Johnson and Danny Garcia. They've signed a first-look deal with the Walt Disney Company to develop films for theatrical and streaming. The projects will be possible vehicles, obviously, for Johnson to star in. And here's the interesting part about this deal, you guys. It's not strictly limited to filmed content. They own theme parks. They own different... Could you see The Rock showing up on a cruise ship? Could you see a park coming out with a rock ride? You know, some sort of a rock movie-themed rock? That's all possible, because it's not just limited to the film and TV, which is really cool. Now, while details weren't immediately disclosed, we have learned that the multi-year agreement will also give $7 a chance to collaborate across all of Disney's divisions, like I was saying. So parks, merchandise, you name it, they have a chance to do something within it. Now, of course, in November, Johnson will reprise his role as the demigod Maui in Moana 2, the sequel to the Oscar-nominated 2016 animated film. The latest trailer for that film broke all previous records for Disney animation trailers when it amassed 178 million views in just 24 hours. Of course, that's not the only Moana coming. There's a live-action version of Moana also in the works.
which is very interesting because, I mean, they got a lot going on with Dwayne The Rock Johnson. So it only makes sense that they signed this thing.
Yes.
And I mean, speaking of that Disney live action Moana, it has found its new leading lady, Catherine Laguerre. I apologize if I butchered your name, but we know how it goes
Yes.
on ITCAFpodcast.
Yes.
And man, oh man, this film is highly anticipated. Everybody loves this thing. We know that Lin-Manuel Miranda is not coming back, but I have a feeling that it's going to be in good hands.
Yes.
That is for sure. Now, joining Catherine and Johnson in the cast are Auckland, New Zealander John Toy as Mulan's father, Chief Toy, Samoan New Zealand actor Frankie Adams as Moana's mother, Sheena, and Arena Owen, who hails from the Bay Islands, New Zealand, as their revered Grandma Tala. And the live-action movie was announced back in last April with the news that Johnson would return to star and produce this thing. Now, Moana is set to begin production this summer ahead of its targeted July 10th of 2026 release date. And I know everybody is super excited for that. They're trying to regain the reins of the family content. That's for sure.
They certainly are. They're off to a good start. Okay, so Station 19 ended, you guys. Okay, where's everybody going? Well, we know where at least a couple of people are going. I'm going to tell you one right now, and then later on we're going to tell you about another one. First one, Jason George is returning to Grey's Anatomy as a series regular after 7 seasons of starring in the spin-off series Station 19, which of course aired the series finale back in May. Now, George joined Grey's Anatomy in 2010, playing, of course, surgical resident Ben Warren as a recurring role beginning with season 6, before being up to a series regular in 2015, season 12. After 3 seasons as a series regular, he left the series to join Station 19 in 2018, with his character Ben deciding to become a firefighter. Now, the spin-off was led by George and fellow Grey's Anatomy alum Stefania Scapanto as Karina DeLuca. Now, in the series finale of Station 19, titled One Last Time, guess what? Ben made the decision to go back to being a surgeon again. He's like, you know what, I'm at it. I'm done with this firefighter stuff. I'm going to go back and be a surgeon again. So now you know, Ben is headed back to Grey's Anatomy, so congratulations, Jason. That's awesome. I know a lot of fans are excited that he's returning to it.
That's for sure, man. I mean, everybody loves the dynamic him and Bailey have on screen, so it's going to be a nice family reunion.
Oh,
That's
yes.
for sure. That's for sure. And I think the most surprising story of the week, this is a weird mashup and a weird place to put it, but hey, you know, no shade. No shade.
No.
Or Saw, as you could say. Disney Plus is expanding into their horror territory, and it's now going to be streaming the first 7 Saw films following the release date of the franchise's 10th installment last year. Now, Disney Plus subscribers can now stream the films through the streamer's Hulu bundle, while the most recent 3 films are not available on Disney Plus yet. The first films are widely regarded as the best of the series. Now, the first 7 films are Saw in 2004, Saw 2 in 2005, Saw 3 in 2006, Saw 4 in 2007, Saw 5 in 2008, Saw 6 in 2009, and Saw 3D in 2010. Hey, if that wasn't in order because that's Roman numerals, I wouldn't have been able to read that.
You're all
fine,
good.
It's fine.
You're all
that's
good.
An interesting thing. That's for sure. That's interesting.
Oh, without doubt, because those are hardcore movies. I mean, that's no joke to be showing up, but that's what you get when you started bundling Hulu with Disney Plus, and you can get them. It doesn't matter. If you're in Disney Plus, you can access Hulu. So it's going to be interesting. All right, let's jump over to Fox, and guess what? The Indy 500 is racing over to Fox after circling the track for many years at NBC. IndyCar announced this week that Fox would become the new home of the NTT IndyCar Series and the iconic race starting in 2025. Now, the new pact means Fox will have the rights to 2 of auto racing's best-known events, the Indy 500, of course, and the Daytona 500, which is part of course, NASCAR. Now, the Indianapolis 500 has been at NBC since 2019, when NBC won the rights that had long been held by Disney and ABC. So this thing's just bouncing around all over the place. But Fox, if you want to watch Indy, it's going to be Fox next year. So there you go.
There it is, man. There it is. My hometown. Be sure to watch. Be sure to watch. Warner Brothers Discovery announced this past week that Trap, the latest thriller from two-time Oscar nominee M. Night Shyamalan, will premiere earlier than expected. Now, moving up a week from August 9th to August 2nd, one of the most anticipated titles of the summer. Now, Shyamalan's Trap, starring Josh Hartnett and Sadiq Shyamalan, the film watches as a man and his daughter attend a pop concert where they realize they are in the center of a dark and sinister event. When the father notices that the heightened police presence at the venue, he's alerted to the fact that the concert was put together as an elaborate ruse to catch a serial killer. Now, little does the vendor who tells him this knows who the serial killer is. We're led to believe that Hartnett himself is that guy. Now, Shyamalan directed the film from his own script and produced alongside Mark Weinstock and Ashwin Rajan. So that's very exciting, but I'm not a M. Night Shyamalan fan, so kudos to those who are.
I got to tell you, though, you might want to catch this movie. I saw the preview of it when I went to go see Bad Boys, and, bro, it looks fucking intense. It's awesome. They're in the concert and everything, and you see this thing, and when he sees it pop up on the phone that the police are surrounding the facility and locking it down, his face just goes stone cold, bro. Like, oh, fuck. And you could just tell. He's like, this guy is like, uh-oh. And if that's true, what a great story. You bring your kid to the concert and you're the fucking serial killer, but you're just dad bringing your daughter to the concert and you're a fucking serial killer? I'm telling you, M. Night Shyamalan is a weird dude, bro. He is a weird dude. But anyway, that's all right. Speaking of weird, here we go. Earlier this week, which we weren't on, but we were paying attention, it was reported that Sandra Bullock and Nicole Kidman were in negotiations to return for Practical Magic 2, a sequel, obviously, to Warner Brothers' romantic fantasy. Now, in an interview earlier today, before we started recording this show, Kidman actually took those rumors one step further and kind of made them not rumors anymore. She's confirming that she is indeed reprising her role as Gillian Owens and said that Bullock will also be returning as Gillian's older sister, Sally. Avica Goldsmith, who penned the original film with Robin Sequard, and Adam Brooks will also return to write the screenplay. Now, Bullock and Kidman are expected to produce. No plot details on the sequel have been given, but the original film, if you guys remember, centered on a curse that causes any men that the two sisters are romantically involved with to die, thus keeping it really hard for them to find true love. So I'm assuming the sequel's going to have something to do with that. Maybe they break the curse. Maybe they can finally find love. I don't know. It's interesting, though. We just keep going back to these movies. There's just like,
I know. That original IP, we are not valued.
Yes.
That's for sure. Now, everybody knows that price hikes have been happening throughout the streaming wars, that's for sure, and even on ad-supported tiers. And sometimes they take away free trials, which really sucks.
It does.
But everybody knows that House of the Dragon Season 2 is coming out this weekend on Sunday. So, Max decided to roll out a 7-day free trial so that everybody can take advantage of it and hopefully turn into paid subscribers. I know that's for sure. The marketing thing for this has been absolutely insane. I'm sure everybody has seen the Targaryen flags hanging from the Brooklyn Bridge or Penn Station.
Oh, yeah.
All of these different places. So this is a much anticipated show, and I'm super excited about it. The offer is available to new customers at max.com, so be sure to check that out. Like I said, House of the Dragon comes back this weekend.
Yes, that's exciting and demonstrating the strength of HBO's Game of Thrones empire. The network also renewed House of Dragon for Season 3 before Season 2 even premiered. Yeah, I mean, you knew it was going to happen because it's just rocking and rolling, so it just seemed like a no-brainer. Now, the Game of Thrones spin-off series, co-created, of course, by Ryan Condal and Thrones author George R.R. Martin, has proven to be a fire-breathing hit for the network. The show has enjoyed the biggest premiere audience ever for an original series for both HBO and HBO Max. now just Max. And the first season averaged 29 million viewers an episode over linear and streaming. It was renewed for season 2 just 1 week following its series premiere. House of the Dragon has, of course, been nominated for 9 Emmys, including Outstanding Drama Series and 2 Golden Globes, winning the Globe for Best Drama TV Series in its first season. So yeah, the thing is kicking ass, and it's no surprise it's going to just keep coming. And they've got a ton of other Game of Thrones shit in the works, so it's just all kinds of stuff coming.
Yeah, they're talking about a new one right now, so we'll see what happens, and we might report on it next week. So Stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for that. Well, Warner Brothers Animation and DC Studios are looking to continue telling that Blue Beetle story via animated series currently in development. Now, Engelmanuel Soto and Gareth Dunet Alcoyer, director and screenwriter of the 2023 film, respectively, will executive produce alongside John Rickard, who served in the same capacity on the film. Now, Valen Weissman, who was an executive producer on the film, will oversee the animated television series for DC Studios. Now, many things are still in flux, including contracts for the main cast. However, multiples have been approached, and DC has received a positive response in regarding returns. So that's very exciting. But hold your horses, because it's just rumored, though, that the animated series will build on the movie. Now, developed under the DC Studios' previous regime, but will divert from telling the same story. So that's interesting. Now, instead of the show, will create its own story, which, in success, could potentially lead to a return to the big screen for the giant blue bug portrayed by Yolo Maradina. So, fingers crossed, man. I really enjoyed the movie, so we'll see what happens. And then another anecdote before we leave Warner Brothers Discovery. I did see the Adult Swim My Best Friend Superman, or Living with Superman, got renewed for a second season too. So that's really awesome.
Yep. And Adventures of Superman, that the one with Quaid's kid there, Jack Quaid, it got renewed also. So yeah, they're just rocking and rolling. So that's an interesting story though, because remember, James Gunn came out and said that Blue Beetle was going to be a part of his DC universe, and that Zola would indeed be returning in the films. So now all of a sudden it's just animated. Now we know that's all connected still, because he's made that clear. It's all connected in one universe. But it's interesting that now they're kind of backing off of him being in the films, and they're saying animated. So I don't know, just kind of weird.
I think a lot's riding on that Superman movie, man. I think if that Superman movie doesn't do well, there's going to be a lot of changes, in my opinion.
But so far, fingers crossed, it looks like Superman's going to do well. So I don't know, we'll see. All right, let's jump over to Paramount, where nothing is going well. With the Skydance media deal talks dead, the 3 leading Paramount global offices of the CEO said they remain focused on cost-cutting and growth plans for the media conglomerate as a standalone entity. Now, if you don't know, and we've been telling you, so you should know, that trio consists of George Cheeks, who's the president and CEO of CBS, Chris McCarthy, who's the president and CEO of Showtime/MTV Entertainment Studios and Paramount Media Networks, and Brian Robbins, won't be for long, I don't think, is President and Chief Executive Officer of Paramount Pictures and Nickelodeon. Now, they addressed the current situation in a company-wide memo earlier this week. On Tuesday, Sherry Redstone's National Amusements, the controlling shareholder, of course, of Paramount Global, said it did indeed end merger talks with Skydance because it was unable to, quote, reach mutually acceptable terms regarding the potential transaction with Skydance Media for the acquisition of a controlling stake in National Amusements. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I think maybe the smart move is what this trio is planning. I think just fuck National Amusements. I think a National Amusements should just spin off Paramount as its own company. Let them try to go for it. Let them either swim or sink as their own company. Don't try to, keep it with National Amusements. Don't try to spin it off as another company here. I think Paramount's best chance to survive as a studio and be the company that we know and love is to go independent and just just go for it, because I think all this other bullshit is just it's dangerous. I think you still got Sony in the mix, who's basically said if they get it, they're just selling off Paramount lot, and like they don't even want to keep it. So I just think, I think the best move is what these guys are doing, is trying to like, hey, let us just go solo and work on trying to get this shit done.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, two things that you just said that I want to address is the lot thing. I think what their plans to do, and I heard this from a rumor report that from the town circulating in Hollywood, that they'd sell off the lot, but then they would lease it back to where they would still have like control or rent the lot for themselves. And then the second thing is, I think, and personally I think, they're waiting to see what happens with the presidential election, to see what the DOJ will approve and not approve, to see if they will have to go forth after something like this or a sale would happen. So, I mean, if Trump does get elected, we all know Sherry has backed him before, so maybe that will in turn help her down the line. Or if she doesn't get elected, then she'll just shred it and sell it for parts, even though she said multiple times she doesn't want to do that. But I mean, she's not predictable at all right now, and from what I've heard, she is very, the last person in her ear is the person she listens to the most. So whoever gets to her last, I mean, is the person who's influencing her the most. So she doesn't sound like she really has a plan, and she's just kind of listening to a whole lot of different outsourced people. And a very interesting theory, I forget his name, but there's a board member who's been on the Paramount Global board since when her daddy was running it, way back when, going through since the early 90s or something, who stayed around for so long. And the theory is that he's going to take the position of CEO to knock out all of these other CEOs and to try to take control. But who knows? Because that could be a short-term gig, because if the sale does happen, he's probably not even going to have that job at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So there's so many different theories, and I feel like this whole situation is just a tornado, a hurricane, where the Wicked Witch of the West, who is Sherry, doesn't know what she's going to do.
She wants money. That's what I think. She's trying to hold out for the best possible way for her to make the most money. She doesn't give a shit about what happens to any of the stuff. She says she doesn't want to break it up, but she said the same thing about CBS. She went into this, remember when her and Les Moonves got into this big back and forth because Les wanted to keep CBS separate, and she was like, no, we're merging them back together. They were once together. We're bringing them back together. And then she brought them back together, and then fucking the whole time tried to get rid of Bob Backish from, because he was a CBS guy. And it's like she could have cared less about actually keeping CBS. I think she just did it to piss off Les Moonves, which I don't give a fuck about Les, because we all know Les. But I'm agreeing with you that I think she's just she's only out for herself. She doesn't give a fuck what happens to anybody else or anything else involved with what National Amusement owns or what Paramount owns, and that's always dangerous. I just think, just...
And I feel like this is another prediction, so maybe when we do our 2025 predictions, I'll say this again. I think in less than 5 years, Paramount Plus won't be around. I just think nobody's paying enough attention to it. Nobody talks about it enough, other than the Taylor Sheridan shows. What's it got? I feel like it's going to be divvied up and licensed out. So
you think they'll You think they'll license all those shows? Because they do have hit shows. They have a lot of hit shows on Paramount Plus. So
I just don't think people are not going home and watching Paramount Plus. They're not. I just feel like, it's not marketed well, and let's be honest about it. The app is glitchy as shit if it's an independent app, and then even if it's through Apple TV Plus, where you have to go into their app and get to that one, it's kind of a hassle just to get through. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting. But like I said, in 5 years, Paramount Plus will not be around.
Well, I'm watching it, so they better keep the shows and put them somewhere where I can keep watching them. Because I like the shows. Mayor of Kingstown, Jeremy Renner's fucking slaying, bro. If they get rid of that, I'm going to be pissed. So if you're going to get rid of your streamer, at least license your shit somewhere else so I can keep watching it. That's all I'm saying, okay? All the Star Trek stuff, where am I going to watch it? Fucking put it somewhere, cause I'm just saying.
Right,
fucking idiots.
Exactly. Well, Paramount is updating An Officer and a Gentleman with one of Hollywood's golden boys right now who loves going back to old IP, who is Miles Teller. Now, Teller will take on the lead role in a modern update from the 1982 classic starring Richard Gere, which was nominated for 6 Academy Awards. Now, it did win Best Original Song Prize for Up Where We Belong, and Louis Gossett Jr.'s historic achievement of becoming the first black man to win Best Supporting actor at the Oscars. It's a return to the skies for Teller, that's for sure, who starred in the hotshot pilot Bradley Rooster Bradshaw, son of beloved Goose, in 2022's Top Gun Maverick. So it's all very exciting. I mean, Miles Teller is a solid, bankable guy right now at the box office, so it only makes sense.
I love Miles Teller. I think he's phenomenal. I don't think this is a necessary reboot. We don't need to reboot.
Necessary.
Yeah. This is
necessary.
This is a classic movie, and even now more so since we lost Lou Gossett Jr. recently. I just don't think you should touch this one. There's plenty of other stuff that you can put somebody as phenomenal as Miles Teller in. You don't have to reboot something that's already a classic. I mean, that's just my opinion.
I mean, the real question is, did the hamster get a nomination? Richard Gere's hamster? I don't know. I mean, we haven't heard about that. Where's he now? What's the hamster doing? I'm just kidding.
That gerbil's long gone, baby. That's
poor guy.
All right, let's jump over to NBC Universal before we get sued. Emily Blunt, who we love Emily Blunt. She's so awesome. She's apparently in early talks to star in the one and only legendary Steven Spielberg's next film. The movie, like all of Spielberg's productions, is shrouded in secrecy, though. But we do know this. It's being billed as an event film. So we can definitely think special effects and vast scope are coming, okay? It's based on a story that Spielberg conceived and boasts a screenplay from David Kopp, who wrote Jurassic Park, War of the Worlds, and Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Now, Universal Pictures will release the film wide on Friday, May 15th of 2026. Now, Blunt, of course, is coming off an Oscar-nominated run as the alcoholic wife of J. Robert Oppenheimer in Christopher Nolan's blockbuster Oppenheimer, as well as the Fall Guy. So she's rocking and rolling. She's killing it. I'm excited. I think Emily Blunt and Steven Spielberg, you can't go wrong with that. You can't.
No, you really can't. And I mean, it's awesome because, I mean, Emily Blunt is a phenomenal person, it seems like. So I'm loving the success in her limelight recently.
Yes.
So kudos to her, and kudos to John Krasinski, still making the effort towards behind the camera and writing. So it's all awesome. It's awesome to see. Well, Universal Pictures has landed the rights to the Stacey Abrams Rules of Engagement, with Meredith Dawson set to adapt the screenplay. Now, Abrams will produce through SageWorks Productions, with Kerry Washington and Pilar Savone producing through Simpson Street. Now, the novel follows an operative for a top-secret intelligence organization who knows that her undercover work has its risks. So she doesn't hesitate when asked to infiltrate Skimitar, a terrorist group that has stolen lethal environmental technology. But when she's assigned a partner, brooding sexy Adam Grayson, to pose as her lover, Riley discovers that the most dangerous risk of all is falling in love. Best known for her best-selling novels, political advocacy, Abrams also served as minority leader in the Georgia House of Representatives, and she was the first black woman to become the gubernatorial nominee for the major party in the United States history. So already making some historical things and also trying to make historical content. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, I got to be honest with you. I had no idea she wrote books. The only thing I've ever known her for is the House of Representatives in Georgia and that big nasty fight to become mayor in Atlanta and governor in Georgia when Trump was like attacking her and shit. Like I had no idea she wrote books. That's pretty awesome. What else is pretty awesome? I promised we'd tell you where someone else from Station 19 was going, and now we know, and we're even really more excited about this one. Less than a month, of course, after Station 19 wrapped its 7th season run on ABC, one of the stars, Danielle Savre, has already landed her next TV gig. The actress who portrayed Maya Bishop on the Shondaland drama has landed a recurring role on the upcoming 2nd season of NBC's hit series Found. Now, details about her character, including how many episodes she'll appear in, are being kept under wraps. Found's 22-episode 2nd season will air Thursday nights at 10 p.m., 9 p.m. Central this fall, following Law & Order SVU, because remember, they're moving organized crime to Peacock. Now, the series stars our friends and former ITCAF guests, Shanola Hampton, Gabrielle Walsh, and Azaria Carter, as well as Mark Paul Gosselaar, Kelly Williams, Brent Dalton, Arlen Esperata, and Zeke as Zeke, and Karen Obery as security expert Dana Reyna. Now, the show's first season ended on a cliffhanger with Sir breaking out of captivity and promising to kill Lacey. Huh? Well, that doesn't happen. We know that doesn't happen, right? No, can't happen. Can't happen.
Who knows?
No.
Poor Lacey.
I mean, we may know because Gabrielle was a guest, so we may know. Did she tell us? No, wait.
For sure. Well, a new series based on John Grisham's 1995 novel, The Rainmaker, and the 97 adaptation has been greenlit at USA Network. Now, Grisham will serve as executive producer on the series alongside Jason Blum, while Blumhouse Television and Lionsgate Television serve as the studios. Now, the official logline reads, fresh out of law school, Rudy Baylor goes head-to-head with courtroom lion Leo Drummond, as well as his law school girlfriend, Rudy, alongside with his boss and her dishelved paralegal, uncover 2 connected conspiracies surrounding the mysterious death of their client's son. Now, the NBC Universal-owned Cabler currently only airs one scripted series, Chucky, which also airs on Sci-Fi. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this goes. And are we seeing it? Are we seeing it as it happens? Is Jason Blum stepping away from horror? Are we going to see more things like this? This is going to be very interesting, but I like it. I like that he's stepping out of his comfort zone, so that's awesome.
Yeah, heck yeah. And it's interesting they're going with a legal drama because we know another scripted series is coming. You know, will it end up on USA? We know it's going to NBC first, but could show up on USA, and that's Suits, the Suits spinoff. So, interesting. The NBC likes legal drama.
They do.
It seemed to be their thing. Let's jump on over to Sony. Sony Pictures Entertainment has acquired Alamo Drafthouse Cinema, the theater chain that, of course, inspired a passionate following with its creative cocktails, extensive food menu, and strict no talking, no texting policies. Now, under the new ownership, Alamo Drafthouse will be managed under a newly established division, Sony Pictures Experiences. In a press release touting the sale, the company said it reinforces Sony Pictures Entertainment's long-held commitment to theatrical exhibition and continued initiatives in experimental entertainment. Alamo has been quietly soliciting offers for the past several months, but had struggled to find a buyer until Sony finally did it. So, I predicted this. Remember, I said that I thought there would be a consolidation of the studios back to the golden age, and they would start buying up theaters now that that law ended, and it certainly looks like it's happening. So, are we going back to the golden age of Hollywood?
We'll see what happens, man. We'll see what happens. Well, speaking of the golden age and the golden years and just trying to sail away into the sunset, Pat Sajak has officially handed off the Wheel of Fortune hosting duties to Ryan Seacrest. Now, the longtime host, whose final episode aired last Friday, has welcomed Seacrest to the game show alongside co-host Vanna White. Now, Seacrest's first episode will air in September of 2024. Now, in addition to serving as host, Seacrest will also serve as a consultant producer on the show. Now, Suzanne Pritt, who is executive producer of game shows at Sony's Pictures Television, confirmed that Sajak has agreed to stay on as a consultant of the show for the next 3 years. So that's cool. Give him a little skin in the game because respect, okay? Respect the OG. Just saying.
Yeah. Sajak's going to be sitting somewhere collecting a paycheck going, it's not American Idol. It's not American Idol. It's like every time the Seacrest tries to change it up, it's not American Idol.
I just want him sitting back in the control room with a do-rag on his head, smoking a pack of Newports.
Yeah.
That's all I want. Maybe
Say,
a
Jack?
little teardrop on his face. Yeah, I think he goes completely Shannon Sharp gangster. Okay, I think he's just living his best life.
He used to be a DJ, so I mean, we know he's got a wild side. He's got that in common with Seacrest. Yeah.
What if he went back to DJing?
That would be interesting, right? Like, I mean,
breaks a hip.
Let's go over to A24, where John Early and Olga Merdiz have joined the cast of A24's Eternity, the romantic comedy in which people must decide who they want to spend eternity with. Now, this thing also stars the Golden Boy, apparently, Miles Teller, Elizabeth Olsen, Callum Turner, and Divine Joy Randolph. David Frayne is directing the movie. Pat Cunye wrote the script, which appeared on the 2022 blacklist. Now, A24 is financing and distributing the rom-com, which is currently in production. That's a hell of a cast, bro. Like that, man. A24 is just killing it, bro. Every year you got to go. Are they getting Oscars? Like, I mean, they're just killing it.
Best studio in town with the original content. I will say that.
Exactly.
They're
exactly.
the only ones creating original content. So I love to see it. Well, we're heading over to Amazon MGM Studios. Now the boys are back in town. The Rated R superhero series returned to Prime Video for its 4th season this week. Now, in order to stream the series and the newest episodes, you'll have to sign up for Prime Video. But don't worry, they're currently offering, like Max, a 30-day free trial. Damn, they're offering more than that.
I know.
The 4th season of the Emmy-winning drama debuted with 3 episodes this past Thursday and will continue to air with weekly installments until the season finale, July 18th. Per the official description for the new season, now in season 4, the world is on the brink. Victoria Newman is closer than ever to the Oval Office and under the muscly thumb of Homelander, who is consolidating his power. Now, Butcher, with only months to live, lost Becca's son and his job as the boys' leader. The rest of the team are fed up with his lies. With the stake higher than ever, they have to find a way to work together to save the world before it's too late.
Yes.
Now, that's very exciting. And man, I dropped off in season 2, so it seems like a lot of shit has happened since then.
A lot of stuff. A lot of stuff has happened. And they also came out, I guess, maybe this week or last week, but Eric Kripke did confirm that next season, season 5, which it was renewed for, will be the last. So they are going to be wrapping it up somehow. You know, will he die? They say he's not in good health, and like, you know, is he going to die? We don't know. Right. Euphoria and the Ballad of Songbirds and Snake star Hunter Schafer has apparently been tapped to co-star opposite Michelle Yeoh in Amazon's upcoming Blade Runner 2099 TV series. The show is a sequel to both the original Blade Runner film and the follow-up film Blade Runner 2049. Now, the storyline is being kept under wraps and no characters are available on Schaefer's character. But sources say Yeoh will play a character named Olwen, described as a replicant near the end of her life. Now, Ridley Scott, the mastermind behind the original 1982 sci-fi thriller Blade Runner, first announced Blade Runner 2099, was in the works all the way back in November of 2021, with Amazon confirming it and revealing that it was in development in February of 2022. So this thing's been taking quite a while to get off the ground, but apparently it's going to happen. So, you know, there we go.
Look at that, man. Look at that. And rounding out Amazon MGM Studios, they have launched the development on The 500, a series adaptation of a novel from New York Times bestseller Matthew Quirk, which Andrew Sordowski will serve as executive showrunner, writer, and executive producer. The show will watch as the former con artist is plucked from his Harvard Law School classroom to become an associate at the Washington's most high-powered consulting firm. Quickly pulled into a seductive, dangerous web of power and corruption, he struggles to find his way out. I mean, that kind of sounds like Suits a little bit, but I mean, you know, in a way, it's like Suits with a spin. So we'll see what happens.
Kind of with like a political edge, and so like,
exactly.
I'll probably watch it. I'll probably be in on it. I kind of like that.
Oh yeah, you love that shit.
Yeah, I love that shit. Exactly. All right, let's jump over to Netflix, and you know what we have to lead with Netflix, because if we didn't, we'd be getting the hate. So here it comes, because we love it too. Bridgerton was the winner of the week by no surprise in the streaming minutes watched during the week of May 13th through the 19th, when the first 4 episodes of season 3 were released. Now, in the first 4 days of availability for part 1, and part 2, guys, came out already this week, came back. But for part 1, all the seasons of Bridgerton were watched for 2.8 billion minutes. 70% of the total was accounted by for season 3, while other 30% came from viewers going back and or discovering for the first time seasons 1 and 2. So I like that, though. Like when they jump on season 3 and go, fuck, this is really good, I got to go back and watch the other stuff. It seems to be working really well for Bridgerton. They see every time they release a new season, people go back and watch the other ones. So good for them.
Yeah, for sure, man, for sure. It's been a great week for television. That's for sure. I mean, the whole entire thing. And Netflix viewership isn't the only thing that Bridgerton has boosted. Because according to Netflix and the Shonda Rhimes produced universe, including seasons 1 through 3 and the spinoff Queen Charlotte, has been added over £250 million in the UK since the launch back in December of 2020. Now that's benefiting nearly 5,000 local businesses.
Wow.
To mark the milestone, Rhimes opened markets for trading at the London Stock Exchange today.
She did.
Friday, the day of recording. Bridgerton has also boosted visitation to the areas in which it has been set, including Bath and Bristol, and has led to a 51% increase in babies named Daphne, and a 27% increase in the name Eloise, and a 26% increase in Colin since its premiere. This is freaking amazing. Not only is the babies thing hilarious, but this is why you have to film other than the major hubs of the entertainment industry. You have to go to other communities to give back. There's a great economy in the entertainment industry. If you take advantage of that, it definitely helps everyone. So there it is.
It absolutely does. We talk about that a lot, the benefits of filming something in a community. And if you're film friendly, it can benefit you in a big way, like Logan said. So think about it. Netflix thought about it and they decided to keep the Obamas around. Sounds like a good sense to me. Higher Ground, of course, the media company started by President Barack Obama and Michelle Obama, has extended its creative partnership with Netflix. Now, as part of the extended deal, Higher Ground will have a multi-year first-look deal with Netflix for all of its film and TV projects. The relationship has actually been pretty fruitful so far, as Higher Ground has become one of Netflix's top suppliers of tastemaker films and TV projects. This, of course, comes on the heels of Netflix revealing that the Higher Ground film, Leave the World Behind, with Mahershala Ali and Julia Roberts, topped all of Netflix viewing in the second half of 2023, and that Bodkin, the Will Forte crime drama series, debuted on Netflix's top 10 weekly global list. So, I mean, they're killing it. I think they're doing it. And Leave the World Behind was fucking awesome. Did you check that one out? Did you ever see that one?
I haven't.
My gosh, it's hardcore, bro. Ethan Hawke and Julia Roberts and Mahershala Ali. You got to check that one out, dude. It's trippy, but it's really good.
I know. I'm becoming more and more of an Ethan Hawke fan. I want to go back and watch more of his films.
Yeah,
that's for sure. That's for sure. Well, we're heading over to Apple to round out our industry news. Apple TV Plus has released a trailer for the Instigators.
Yeah.
Instigators. There it is. I'm drunk off coffee.
Yeah.
Doug Liman's new Boston set action comedy starring Matt Damon and Casey Affleck. The film follows Rory, who is Damon, a down on his luck dad who begrudgingly teams up with ex-con Kobe, who is Affleck, to steal the funds from a crooked politician. But when everything goes wrong, the duo must evade capture not only from the police, but also from the corrupt bureaucrats and underground crime lords. While on the lam, they managed to convince Roy's therapist to help them get away.
What?
Now, the Instigators will have a limited theatrical release on August 2nd before streaming worldwide on Apple TV Plus on August 9th. So that is very exciting.
Yeah. This is the next one out of Ben Affleck and Matt Damon's company. That they're behind this one again, and so I'm not a huge fan of Casey Affleck, but I did watch the trailer, and this one looks pretty good. It looks pretty entertaining, so I'll give it a shot probably. Now, on the heels of wrapping up our industry news, we're going to come up on the heels of season 2 finale of Apple's critically acclaimed comedy series Loot, starring the one of only Maya Rudolph, of course, who also executive produces. Apple TV Plus has signed a multi-year first look deal with Banana Split Projects, which is the newly formed production company run by Maya Rudolph and Danielle Renfrew. Under the deal, Apple TV Plus will have a first look series and digital features developed and produced by Banana Split. That only makes sense. It seems like anytime anybody comes into the fold and they have huge hits, they get first look deals. I mean, it just seems like a no-brainer. By the way, I love Banana Split as the name of the company. That's a fucking awesome name.
That's a great freaking name.
Yeah.
That's so good. That's so good. But anyway, now it is time for our guest segment, man. We got the one and only Rhiannon Fish coming on the show to talk about her life, her career, the triumphs, the pitfalls, all of the things in between. Y'all had an amazing conversation.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and so much respect for her. She was great. We were laughing, but I always have such respect for people who are willing to just be so candid and open up about things that aren't always easy to talk about. And she does that throughout this interview. She gets very personal about some stuff that she dealt with mental health issues and body disorders, body image disorders and an eating disorder, and just a lot of stuff that she got really deep in. And so I hope you guys will give this one a good listen, because you're going to be entertained. We laugh and have a good time talking about her career and Hallmark and Lifetime and all these kind of crazy things. She even wants to maybe do a horror musical. What? But anyway, you're not going to want to miss this one. It's a really good one.
For sure, man. Well, here she is.
Rhiannon Fish, welcome inside the Crazy Ant Farm. How are you?
I'm so excited to be here. I was just asking who that cute little guy is on your shirt, and I have been informed.
Yes.
Yes,
that's Bonk, and he's our Crazy Ant mascot, Bonkers. We're actually doing a little animated television series about him. Him and his crew run a bar in New Orleans, so of course, we're working on that. It's coming down the line, but we're excited about that.
What sort of rating would a show like that have?
Oh, that's going to be an adult comedy.
I figured.
Yeah. It's kind of like but think of along the lines of a BoJack Horseman kind of a thing. Yeah. It's going to be along those lines. It's going to be hilarious. But we're excited about that. We're writing that now, and it's going to be pretty fun. We're kind of doing voice character actors, trying to get some names. It'll be interesting. So, how are you? We're so excited to talk to you.
It's so good to talk to you. Yeah, you guys reached out a while ago, and we were finally able to connect.
Yes, you're busy, we're busy, but it's all good. We got it happening, and I'm so glad because, wow, you have been on some amazingly huge stuff. I mean, it's just Home and Away and Neighbors. Anytime you say Neighbors, they're like, Margot Robbie? Yes, way back in the day, right? Dancing with the Stars, of course, all the Hallmark movies, the 100, just like crazy how many things you've been involved with. But what we like to do to kind of start is, for anybody who might not be familiar with you, talk about how you got started in the industry. Was acting something you knew you always kind of wanted to do, or did you kind of fall into it? How'd you get in there?
I actually started when I was 11. I was very lucky. Born in Canada, grew up in Australia. And joining the industry in Australia, of course, meant that it was like a slightly smaller pond. So there were more opportunities, which was fantastic.
Yeah.
And that was where I got my start on Neighbors. And ever since that job, I was just sort of like, this is all I want to do for the rest of my life if I can.
Yeah, once you get on set, right, you get that little bug, and it's like,
That's
you're done.
it. Yeah. I've never heard of anyone that went to set once and was like, that'll do me. I've had enough of that.
Yeah, same. I tell everybody who's trying to break into the industry, it's like once you're on a set, it's like the greatest. I describe it as literally, I have found nothing that matches the feeling of being on a set other than the birth of my daughter. Outside of that, I just have nothing else brings me as much joy as
There's
being on a
nothing
set.
like it.
Yeah.
I agree. And I don't know if you're like me, Dustin, where I feel that. And so people that have no interest in film and television, I'm like, you got to come. You got to come over. Yeah, we'll get you. Come, do set deck, whatever it is. You have a place here. You got to come.
Oh, absolutely. And once they see it, once they see how it all works, because, most people don't know what goes into making what happens on the screen that they see. And when they get on a set and go, wow, it's...
That's one of my favorite things about being on a set is all the moving parts, and to see people that are so skilled in each of their crafts being creative. There are very few, I assume, very few other jobs where there is that much creativity and that a vast amount of different styles of creativity all coming together to create hopefully a similar sort of vision. I think is really cool.
Oh yeah, that's a great point on how you said that, because so many times it is so many different creative visions, yet somehow pull off what they're trying to do as a team, and it's unreal how many people can come together and do that. I feel like outside of this industry, when you start getting that many people together in a room, egos get in the way, and
exactly. Yeah.
But this, nope. It's like, no, we're going to make this happen, and you're boom, going to do it.
When it's not happening like that, you see, then that's when it sort of starts to fall apart. It absolutely does, in my opinion, have to be a collaborative effort.
Oh, without doubt. Without doubt. So I got to ask, what's it like coming into a show that's a huge hit? You're 11. It's already kind of like a family there, kind of a thing, So how were you treated, first of all? Like, okay, here comes the newbie, right? And as a younger actor, what was that like going into it? Because we've talked to some people in the past about soap operas and stuff, and the rate at which how many pages they knock out in a day and how they go through it. I'm assuming it was the same over there on a soap opera there as well. What was that like?
Yeah, I think so. For me, my spot on Neighbors was a guest role, which was like the perfect way to start in the industry. And because I was 11, people quite literally held my hand and were like, this is your mark. Don't look here, look here. Like, and if you were to join the industry at a later age, people just assume that you know what's going on. So I feel very, very lucky to have been given such an incredible lesson at such a young age. And then Home and Away, that was a series regular. So that was much more like the soaps you would have heard of, where it's just like an overwhelming quantity of dialogue.
Yeah.
Like, to put it simply. But again, that was such a wonderful learning experience where now nothing has ever seemed as big of, like, there's never been that much dialogue, nor will there ever be again. And of course, because you're making it year round, you'll get a couple weeks off at the end of the year and then you're right back at it. So it teaches a discipline that I think everyone that has been through that circuit would vouch for the fact that it's so valuable.
Oh, yeah. I feel like anybody who can, they take a lot of knocks sometimes, the soap operas or kind of that. Yeah. But I feel like if anybody who's able to perform on a soap opera and go through that much dialogue and record that many pages a day, you can handle anything after that. It's like...
Sure. And also the storylines, let's be real, ridiculous a lot of the time. So if you are able to sell those in a way that is in any way convincing to an audience, I know I've even had some experiences, with some of the Hallmark movies where it's like, this is kind of a little bit far-fetched, but to then take that on as a challenge and try and make it in any capacity believable, I think it's a really fun sort of test as an actor.
Yeah. So because it was an extremely popular character on Home and Away, and you were riding high, huge success, and you decided to walk away from it, right? Like,
I don't talk about this very often. I didn't want to walk away.
Okay, good.
My character had they were this beautiful love story. The character, I played April, and there was this character Dex, and they were this magical love story because in the soap operas, most people die or like everything's tragedy all the time.
Yes.
But they were one of the love stories. And so the producers wanted to make sure that they stayed together no matter what. And the Charles, who was playing Dex, he wanted to go, and that's so fair. I totally get it. We did 3.5 years, which is a long time.
Yeah.
And when he was ready to go, it basically meant that I had to go. But I would, in a heartbeat, I would go back to Home and Away for sure.
Oh, that's awesome. And good. I'm glad we cleared that up, because everywhere, everything says you wanted to leave to jump to LA. And I mean, that's like everywhere. So
I really wanted leave Australia. No, like, I mean, LA's great, but Australia's pretty wonderful.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. I've heard it's pretty nice.
Yeah.
um, I guess so. A couple of questions though, to kind of like okay, so the character does end. You do come to the States. First of all, what two things? Transitioning from, because you did start so young, 11,
Yeah.
right, and then transitioning into
Mhm.
adulthood and becoming an adult
Yeah.
actor, right? That, especially on our side of the pond here in the States and everything, and in Hollywood, there's there's some stuff there. It's dark, and a lot of kids don't make that transition, or they get caught up in problems and start to go down the wrong route. First, how did you avoid that? How did you avoid, as a child actor, not going down the wrong routes, not getting caught up in the bad side of things, because it does exist? And have you found it difficult or easy to make that transition into adult acting?
I have to be honest with you, and I'm not sure how much I've spoken about this either, but I actually really struggled. So, The 100 was the first job I booked off of Home and Away. And that was, again, great show. I had a wonderful time on it, but my character, one of my first days was to do like simulated nudity, which I had never done before.
Yeah.
And I felt an overwhelming amount of pressure on my body. It was not what they were placing on it, to be very, very clear. There was no criteria or anything that they wanted my body to look like at all. I was just supposed to show up and be myself, but I got very, very critical of myself in that moment. And it was after that show that I actually decided to, I say take a break. I didn't have anything lined up, so I don't know how much of a break it really was, but I spoke to all my managers at the time and I said, I don't want to do any more auditions. And I really threw myself into therapy. And I worked extensively with a specific therapist, and then I did group therapy on top of that as well. And I did that for several years until I was ultimately ready to say, like, okay, I can go back and try this again.
Okay, so let's get deep for a little bit, because you brought that up, and I'm glad you did, because first of all, doing all the research and prep work for the interview and everything, and I've been following you for a while, so I saw the video that you posted from the car, and I want to applaud you for, first of all, for the courage.
That video, I was good. I was like, should I pretend?
Yeah, no, we're gonna go there. The courage that you had to make a post like that and share publicly, because it's not always an easy thing to do. I think there's such a stigma attached to mental health that people are terrified to share.
Yeah. Again, oh my gosh, you're making me be so candid, and I'm more than happy to be, because I think it's helpful to people.
Exactly.
But it's taken me, I'm 33 now, it's taken me a long time to sort of realize that. I initially wanted to come out and talk about my journey in therapy. This was a long time ago, and my manager at the time said, no, that's a bad idea. No one's gonna want to hire you because they're gonna think that you're mentally ill. And I'm doing that in big quotes, because I don't think that that's very damaging, that idea. It's not fair.
No.
Like, you would never, I don't know, I think sometimes you can compare mental illness to physical illness.
Absolutely.
And, like, you can never be like, oh, I'm not going to hire that person. They're like a cancer survivor. Like,
right.
That's so crazy. So why? Because if someone has overcome mental illness, does that mean that then they're less desirable as someone you want to hire?
Right.
I just think it's crazy. And I was so thrilled when I spoke out about it on my Instagram. And it really, like you said, it wasn't that long ago. The influx of people in my DMs after that were just saying thank you for saying something. And even friends of mine that I had no idea of their struggles were like, felt that we could then talk about their own experience and mine. And it was just, I think the more we talk about it, the more we can help everybody.
Absolutely. And that's the thing. And for anybody who didn't see it, or you talk about how you struggle with anxiety and depression, and you mentioned the body, because there was an eating disorder in there as well. But like you said, I feel like if just nobody really knows what anybody's going through on a daily basis, right? You just don't know. And it's that simple act of somebody maybe seeing your video or hearing you talk about it, and they realize that they're not the only one going through it. They're not alone. And that might have saved their life. You don't know. They could have been on their way to do something tragic that day, and they see your video and go, oh, I'm not alone. And she's going through that, right?
Exactly. Exactly. And I think so for me, I got a lot of I got my OCD diagnosis a year ago. So again at 32, and this is something that I had been experiencing. Some of my first memories are of these OCD thoughts, but it took until 32 for someone to diagnose me.
Right.
So I think that it's because you don't, if you don't speak about it. It just so happened I mentioned to my therapist. I was having a session and I was like, "Does everybody think like that? I'm sure like this is a normal thought to have." And she was like, "Whoa, no, that's OCD." And then so too, I'm also I each to their own, but for me, I have found medicine to be very, very helpful, and it completely changed my life. And so even just having discussions about things like OCD, which are often used as like a joke, like people
Yeah.
are so quick to throw that around, and it's not funny. It's something that's very serious, and I think if you can talk about it as a real diagnosis, maybe it would help other people find the diagnosis themselves, or at
Yeah.
least ask, like, maybe is this what it is? I don't know.
No, absolutely, and just so many things there. First, I think everybody should have a therapist. There's clearly there is nothing
Amen.
wrong with going to therapy and talking to somebody about it. Right? There's a stigma attached to that too, but I tell everybody I know, hey, listen, get a therapist. If you don't feel comfortable talking to family and friends, go talk to a stranger. It's fine. I
Yeah.
think it's a good thing, and. I like how you opened up about the anxiety and the depression as well. My daughter has suffered from anxiety her entire life. And
Yeah.
just recently so we're in pre-production on a film right now, and I was inspired to write it when I was watching her battle the anxiety. She was becoming a teacher, and she was going through the process of becoming a teacher, and the anxiety was just overwhelming and so crippling at points that she couldn't do things. And I was like, so I was inspired to write a story about that, and so now we're doing a little film about that. But I don't think enough people realize that, because a lot of times I think people they're anxious, and you hear, oh, get over it, you're being ridiculous. That's
Oh,
something from
no.
this long
Yeah.
ago or that long ago. They don't understand
No.
what anxiety actually
No.
is and how
Your
it
use of
plays a
the word
role.
crippling, I think, was so perfect. And I think it's so cool that you are writing with firsthand experience. That's the other thing that is so important, is to tell stories that are based on reality of people that are actually suffering from these uh, illnesses.
Absolutely. And the whole point of it, I mean, the story has a happy ending or all, but the point that we want to do with the film is to show that you can overcome it, that there's nothing wrong with you. You're going to go through this on a daily basis. It doesn't mean you can't achieve what you want to achieve or do what you want to do. And that's our hope with this film, is that people see it and go, oh, I'm going through that. I know that.
There's
So
light on the other side.
yeah,
Totally.
yeah,
Yeah, I think there's a very damaging, and again, it's just a personal opinion. There is a very damaging idea that there is no such thing as recovery from an eating disorder.
right.
There are therapists that will tell you that. And I think that that's really damaging, because I believe that I am fully recovered. And who then, I know, I speak for myself, like, why would I enter into something if I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to get better. So why bother? Like,
Right.
that's so dangerous to tell people that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I just, again, you're so brave to just come forward and talk about it, because I'm sure there are many people that look up to you or that you inspire on a daily basis. It's part of the gig of what you do. And for you to be brave enough to come out and say that, you're probably helping numerous people that you don't even realize that you've helped by just being yourself and doing what you're doing. And I
Right
applaud
back
you for
at you,
that.
Dustin, right back at you.
Well, thank you. There's another thing though. Speaking, I want to kind of like. I promise we're going to get out of the deep though.
No,
But
I like it.
because you talk about the eating disorder and stuff. There was another thing that I saw you do in another interview that really stuck out at me, and I think it's important too, especially being the father of a daughter. You mentioned about how just because you happen to post a picture of yourself in a bikini, that it doesn't give the right to people to slide into your DMs and talk sexual to you or to have sexualized things about you
Yeah.
or nasty stuff. And especially coming from somebody with an eating disorder and overcoming it and doing what you do, you're probably proud of your body. You want to show off your body, but that doesn't mean because you're showing off the body.
No,
Talk
no,
about that a
absolutely
little
not.
bit, because it's got to be difficult even as, and we've talked about with past guests too, especially now that the whole Harvey Weinstein and all the stuff's out there. The
Yes.
It's ugly. It's out there still. Talk about have you experienced anything like that in the industry, and talk about, like you said, with social media and how dangerous that can be sometimes with people doing that.
For sure. So when I was 11 on Neighbors, I was added to a website. I'm sure this website doesn't exist anymore, but it was a website called Jailbait Wait. And
Oh.
quite literally a countdown to when, and it wasn't, of course, it was me and all these other underage girls. And people would visit this website to count down until they were of a illegal age where they could sleep with them or view
Wow.
them sexually. And I knew of this when I was 11 years old, which is like I don't know what it made me think at the time, but now I look back on it and I'm like, that's criminal. Like there's
Yeah.
something seriously wrong about that. And then it has continued to sort of, it plays into so many elements of this industry. It's like, I feel like people in some sense feel that they are invited to view you in a sexual way, and I'm sort of confused as to where they get that idea from.
Yeah.
And needs to be a separation between this is a woman in a bikini and this is something that this is an invitation for me to speak to her in a way that is of that nature.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're two very, very, very separate things.
No, and you know, you brought up a good point with that too. It's like, is this guy, first of all, if it is the guy that will do this in person, then we really have problems. That's going up. But you're right though. It's like, it's one thing when you slide into a DM and you do it. It's wrong. You shouldn't be doing it. It's disgusting. But I feel like so many of these men think that that's their shield. Oh, I can do this here, kind of. And it's like, think about it, my man. Would you walk up to her in real life and say something like that to her? Of course you wouldn't. So why do you think it's okay to say it here, right? It's just, it's.
Yeah, it's terrible. And not to generalize, I'm sure, but statistically, I think both of us were probably in agreement that it is a lot of men that are out there.
Unfortunately so, yeah.
Being perverts.
And it makes us good men really mad. It's like, I have to remind people, like, not all men are like this.
Especially with, you're the father of a daughter.
Exactly. Somebody slides into her DM like that, I'm hurting somebody. Yeah, exactly. It's like, as a dad, and I was raised by a single mom. My dad passed away when I was 7. So being raised by a mother, I was taught how to respect women and how you should treat a woman. And that's not it. You don't do these things. But you're right though. It's so intertwined in the industry, because how often do we hear sex sells? Oh, you got to show more skin this way, or like you said, you get on the 100 and what, you're barely an adult at that point. You're like, oh no, let's do nudity, simulated or not. It's just like, boom.
Yeah.
So, and you don't, I mean, come on, you don't see it all with the men. You're not jumping in and going, hey guys, we need you to do this or do that, right? No. It's kind of it's a tricky situation.
And it's so targeted towards women. And I've actually had a sort of opposite, yet very similar conversation about Hallmark, so this movie that I did, we'll probably maybe talk about it. It's coming out sometime this year. Was a Hallmark movie. Shot it in Costa Rica. Phenomenal movie.
Yeah.
No, I mean, in terms of like that, the world, it was one of my favorite Hallmark movies I've ever done, for sure. And we're in Costa Rica. We're swimming in the waterfall. I need to be wearing a bathing suit.
Right.
The number of bathing suits I had to try on was absurd, because every single one of them was like, oh, it's too much. She's showing too much. It's too much. It's too much. It's too much. But again, you're thinking that it's sexual. It's not.
Yes.
I'm a girl. It's hot. I'm going to go swimming. You're the ones that are making this weird.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be.
Exactly.
It's in between women and their bodies being that of a sexual nature that I think we are far too focused on.
Right. Agreed. And so, okay, let's talk about Hallmark though. And it's funny that even working on a Hallmark project that they would worry about something like that, right? Because you don't typically associate that with Hallmark, right?
Yeah,
but
exactly.
I love though the Hallmark aspect of it. And look, I'm a Hallmarky. I'll admit it. I get dogged all the time for it. I don't care. I'm a Hallmarky. But I like it because so many of the people that we've interviewed from Hallmark and friends of ours that work for Hallmark, that they always say about how people need this. People need a place where they can just go and in some instances sit around the TV with their family and know that it's going to be okay for the whole family to think. And just to see a happy ending, to just escape from the craziness that the world is and go, this is a nice little movie that's going to have a happy ending and it makes me feel good. Right?
Yes, I totally agree. I mean, I think all you have to do is watch the news for 30 seconds and understand why films like the Hallmark Channel makes, why they need to exist as well.
Absolutely. And I will say that I'm loving recently that they are kind of breaking the formula. They're getting more into different storylines and more diverse casts and they're opening up. And you're not sure if they're going to end up together at the end. Wait, what? So because wait a minute, they're supposed to have already done this. Yeah, and I think you joked about, I even got a kiss halfway through instead of waiting all the way till the end. Wait, what? Yeah. So I love that they're doing that though, and I think that might be the change in leadership, but so I like that they're taking more chances. I see that they're taking you guys out of Canada and actually traveling places and like you said, close to
crazy.
Yeah, I love that.
Just Vancouver. Yeah, very exciting.
Well, and I like too because you said let's to bring it back to how you kind of talked about working on Home and Away and how quick paced it was, and because these things, from what I understand, we've been told they're very quick from the time they get greenlit till the time you shoot to the time it comes on the air. It's boom, boom, boom. What's that like? Talk about that a little bit.
I love it. Because it also means that on the day, you have to be so prepared. You're lucky if you get 2 takes. Yeah. And I swear I'm not exaggerating. And this is not on all the Hallmark movies, not to generalize, but on a lot of them, like the one we just did in Costa Rica, maybe 2 takes at the most. Yeah. Which means you have to be on your game, which I find very exciting and very challenging. Keeping the pace going is, I sometimes wonder that if I were to go into, some big Hollywood blockbuster movie where you don't even shoot a scene a day, it's like a portion of a scene, I wonder what that would feel like, because I'm very, very much in love with the adrenaline that comes with doing things so fast.
Oh, I bet it's got to be a rush, right? I mean, there is no wait, right? You hear constantly in our industry, hurry up and wait. There's no wait with Hallmark. It's just hurry up and go. I love that.
There's no trailer. Wait, the male actor that was in it, his name's Chris Russell. He's done a bunch of the Hallmark movies, and we joked about there wasn't even a chair for us to sit in. There was no cast chair. It was just we were rolling at all times.
Wow. That's okay. Yeah, that's the first I've heard. That's the first I've heard of that, but I believe it. So I will say, I've seen dozens of yours. I love them. You seem to have a theme. You're very nature oriented in a lot of yours. We're chasing whales and eagles and doing marine, conservation and talk about that. Do you have a particular one that you like, or do they just bring them to you? Do you have any kind of a say in which ones you choose?
I'm starting to get a bit more of a say, which is very exciting. And I'm also starting to find that I don't know if I'm getting lucky, but the ones that are coming my way are ones that I am very, very, very interested in. I do love the adventure ones, especially if we get to travel. Yeah. I also really like the mystery ones. We did that one, Nikki and Nora. Yeah. There is still more coming out.
Yes.
I know.
They set it up for more. I need more Nikki and Nora. How do you set it up?
Oh, thank you. But we got by the writer's strike. It was just about ready to go, and then we got hit with the strike, and then we got hit with the actor's strike, which would mean we lost Hunter. Hunter King. And so we have there's 2 more ready to go for us to shoot. Hunter and I are both just waiting for that call.
I would take it even a step further. Based on the success of the series that they've been airing lately, right? The Way Home and all the, I think you guys should make a series out of it. I think a weekly series of you guys did. I loved the characters. I thought the dynamic back and forth was fantastic. I was hooked on that. I'm and when it ended, I was hoping, and then I saw there wasn't. And I'm wait,
hello? So we all heard, we were following along with what was going to happen, on this side of it. And then I was terrified when Hallmark released like their list of ones that will not be continuing. I was like frantically scrolling
Yeah.
through there on my phone. Nikki and Nora was not on there as far as
Yes.
I've seen. So they will come. They will come
All right.
in time. But you're right with the series. I did just do I was lucky enough to get to go back and do Signed, Sealed, Delivered.
Yeah.
I did 2 movies with them, which they're turning them out real fast. They're about
Yep.
to come out again. But again, they're like on their 16th or something crazy. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
if people, and it's wonderful. I think Hallmark really sort of honors its audience in that if it finds a following, like they will continue to make these films for them. So anyone watching, if you want more Nikki and Nora, let them
Yeah,
know.
we're gonna start a campaign because I want it, and we're gonna make everybody do it. Yeah, it's gonna be fantastic. And I like that they're taking chances too, because I feel like you can take Nikki and Nora in so many different directions now. Because when I first saw The Way Home, when I read the I'm like, this is a Hallmark show? I mean, you're talking about like supernatural time travel. I'm like, wait a minute, are we sure? But I like that they're taking chances, which means you could go in a very broad direction with Nikki and Nora on where you go in the type cases. So I think, yeah, we got to make that happen.
I think so too, and I think it's also cool. I really like it that it was 2 girlies running the
Yes.
show. I really like that.
Yeah.
And I love the family aspect of it, the estranged sisters. I think it's set up to hopefully have a lot of longevity in it.
Yeah, me too. Okay, now you brought up estranged sisters. Let's talk about jump over to Lifetime real quick. But I watched this one last night, and I got to tell you, I'm normally really good at really quickly right on getting plots and figuring stuff out quicker than I probably should. It makes it hard to enjoy things sometimes. But, that's just the nature of also being a huge film guy and writer, and like, I knew that's coming. But, yeah. And so while, I'm just going to say it's spoilers for anybody who hasn't seen it yet or whatever, like, while I figured the sister out almost from the get-go, the twist of him not being the guy, I never saw that coming. I was like, wait, what? This isn't the guy?
That makes me so happy.
Yeah.
When I read it too, I thought the same thing. I was like, well, it's really obvious. And also it's in the title, Living with My Mother's Killer. She's only living with her sister.
Exactly.
Like,
exactly. Yeah.
I was really thrilled that they put that extra twist in. And Grayston Holtz, who played Carson, I loved working with him. I found he's incredibly talented. And Leanne, who played my sister, again, it was a really impressive group of local actors. It was a really small budget film.
Yeah.
And we've now seen it. It's got a few in our local awards here. Both Leanne and I are nominated, which is awesome. I'm really was so excited to be a part of that film and for it to be my first Lifetime experience.
Yeah. It was really well done. The acting was phenomenal, and he did an amazing job of like of playing the bad guy, but then making you think he's not the bad guy and you want to root for him. He did a really good job with that. But yeah, you guys, that was definitely not a Hallmark movie. That one was difficult
for sure. That was my first one, and I can't get enough of it. I would love to do more of that for sure.
Yeah. I can kind of see that. As awesome as you are at the Hallmark movies, and I don't want you to stop doing those because those are amazing and you're fantastic. I can kind of see you being like a badass, kind of like, maybe not a nice person.
No, I want to be in a horror movie and I want to be screaming and crying and covered in blood and be the bad guy. That's what I want to do.
Yes. Yeah. No, totally. Okay. All right. Now I'm hold on. I'm going to get my pad. I'm going to start writing down ideas for you. Yeah. I love that. Not you come off as the victim, but you're really the bad guy. I would love that. I think you'd be really good at that. I think you would, because you're so deceiving. Like this girl can't possibly be the bad guy. Yeah. But that would be perfect. That would be perfect. So okay, that's interesting. Have you ever thought about? Because you can see the wheels turning right there. Have you ever thought about transitioning behind the camera and doing any type of work behind the camera, directing or writing or anything like that?
I have thought about it. I'm not a good, I don't have anything to say. So writing is out of the question. I don't mind. I really, really like collaborative writing efforts where people come with ideas and concepts and we can all work together. But I have nothing new to say, which is why I think it's so cool that you as a creator, like that is one of the things I find so impressive when people can just come up with something out of nothing, I think is brilliant. Um, but directing, and again, directing's tricky too. When I see it done well, I'm like, no, that's scary. I don't want to do it. But when I see it done poorly, I'm like, well, maybe I could give it a
You
go.
know?
But I don't know. Maybe that's a horrible thing to say. But I think maybe we all sort of experience that even when we watch film and television. It's
Sure.
like, or like that was very impressive. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Right now, I'm so content on the side that I'm on of the camera.
Sure, sure. But I just keep it in mind because I think you could see that I think you'd be a really good director. Just based on this conversation and seeing your stuff in past interviews and stuff, I think you have a really strong understanding. And I think anybody who's a really good actor in front of the camera, I feel like will also be a good director in the sense that you understand them. Right,
You
because
can
I think to
always
be a
tell.
director, you have to understand the actors and
Absolutely.
make that
Yes.
work. So, and I
Yes.
think if you're coming from that side of it, you come at it at a different angle from somebody who's just directing, who's never been in
For
front of the
sure. You can
camera.
always feel that when you're on set too. You can feel which directors are actors and which ones are not, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, I love that. I love that. Yeah, that's my favorite thing about it. I just and I like finding the unknown people. That's my favorite thing is like because there's so much undiscovered talent
Totally.
out there
I
that's
totally
just
agree.
phenomenal. And I was just at an event out in LA, and literally the studio execs, and I'm not going to mention which studios, but they were literally saying is like when you're trying to package your deal or whatever, they could care less about the story. It's who do you have attached. And I'm like, you're missing out on so many undiscovered talents, not just from the acting, but from the writers and all these people because you're only worried about. And my argument would be like, look at The Fall Guy or look at like these, you have these A-list phenomenal actors that did not guarantee success.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so the
Absolutely.
idea that you're not giving somebody an opportunity because you think that they're
Absolutely.
not where your A-list should be, just, it
Yeah.
breaks me every time.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I think we're also seeing more and more of that with like even stories as a whole, where it's like, well, this one worked the first time we made it, so let's make it again, rather than tell a different story.
Yes, yeah. Well, and
Mhm.
it's interesting because somebody brought up I have this really cool idea about this, and they basically pitched it to these guys, which I was like, "Do we want to
Yeah.
do that?" But they did,
Right.
and all of them, their response was, "While that's a really relevant story and probably important, it's just not a pill that we want to feed the audience." That was the response. They said you'd do better to pitch that as a documentary and take it that route. As opposed to just telling a movie, having a story that's in a movie form about it. They
Oh,
literally said it's a pill we
no.
don't want to feed the audience. Like,
Oh my goodness, that's
right?
wild. Oh my,
Exactly,
I
exactly.
actually can't believe that. My jaw is I got I'm on the floor. I can't believe, yet I can. That's the crazy thing. Like
Right?
that seem like that makes sense, but at the same time, as storytellers, that's a really scary thing to hear what the big dogs are saying up the top.
Yeah, yeah, I was shocked as well. I was like, wow,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think I
yeah,
will go take my story and make a documentary. Like, but it's one of those weird things. But yeah, it's kind of like it's why we love what we do. With this podcast, it's all geared towards the up and comers, and so we talk about the industry and the news. The first hour of the show is all industry news, and we talk
yeah,
about what's going on in it. And
absolutely.
it's always interesting to just see how it's changed, so dynamic and everything. Um, and it's scary, the stuff that's going on. And I think this is my opinion, but I
Mhm.
think a lot of it has to do with these studios being bought now by people that aren't creators. They're not filmmakers. They're tech guys or whatever. They have no idea about storytelling. It's all about the money for them. So,
Exactly.
and
Yeah, they don't care. And
yeah,
that's so dangerous.
it is.
Absolutely. Which is one of the reasons why I still think it's cool to, yes, again, it would be really cool to be in some big time Hollywood blockbuster. But these on the ground small films that we are making, like these people are on the set hustling because they are
Yes.
still but they still have this deep, deep love for it. Every single person does, even the people at the top.
Yeah.
Their love is still ultimately for creating. And I think that there's something very, very enjoyable about working on the lower budget things because I think that within that space, you'll find all the people there still have a love for the craft.
Yes. Yeah. It's a passion, right? You get into it because you're passionate about storytelling or about putting your art out there. And I think, yeah, I think the way you just described it's perfect. Those type budgets and those type smaller things, it's still art. It's still storytelling. It's still,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I love that. I love that. I love speaking to like-minded people who get it.
Me too. Me
And you
too.
get it. So I knew you were going to be a great guest. I knew you were. Okay, so we know you got a Hallmark one coming up. What else you got going on? Anything else coming up? Okay, I got to ask. We know I touched on it briefly at the top, Dancing with the Stars. You should have won, by the way. I went back and watched it. I went back and watched your performances. I'm like, what? Why didn't she win? You should have won. Dancing. So your musical. We know you play. Do you sing as well?
I do.
Yeah.
That is musical theater is my first great love.
Okay.
Nothing makes me happier than musical theater. That is my dream to, in some capacity, ever be able to segue into. I'm telling you, even if it was like a High School Musical type thing, nothing would fill my heart with more joy. That is something that I would really love to do. That and the horror movie we're discussing, where I'm the villain. We'll put those both on.
Sure. And if we want to get real creative, I'll just start writing a horror musical for you. Why not, right? Let's just go for it. That would be pretty fun. As you're getting slashed or slashing somebody, you're singing. It's like, it's great. Well, that's awesome, though. I'm sitting here and I'm looking at you and I'm thinking, man, you would have made a great Eliza. I'm just saying. Yeah, I think you'd be phenomenal as Eliza. Maybe we should spin Eliza off into, we'll call up Lynn, get him on that. Well, that's good. So maybe I would love to see you in something like that, more musical oriented or something, or maybe even in one of the movies, the Hallmark movies or Lifetime movies, you get to do a little bit of that, just sing. That would be amazing.
We're also making some really cool series in Australia right now, which I'm always still auditioning for projects back at home.
Sure.
They're making some really gritty, cool TV there, and they're getting bigger budgets, and it's just like a lot of stuff is coming to shoot in Australia, which is awesome.
Yeah.
So definitely keeping my eye out for any of that, but also at the same time, like we both sort of said, this Hallmark world is the best.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful to sort of be in a position where they continue to keep coming my way, and I feel so lucky to have found this sort of family in the Hallmark Channel. It's wonderful.
You're like the fourth or fifth person that refers to it as family,
and it feels that way.
Yeah.
Because so often, Dustin, like I mean, like we said, I've been in this industry for a long time. People talk a big game and they'll promise you all kinds of things. But when I first got to Vancouver, one of my very first jobs was a really small role on Signed, Sealed, Delivered. And Martha, the creator, she said to me, she was like, I promise you, Rhiannon, if we ever do another one of these movies, I'm going to bring you back. And I was like, okay, sure. We hear this all the time.
Yeah.
But then sure enough, when they X amount of years later have brought it back, they brought me back as I don't know if series regular is the right term. I mean, there's the four of them,
right?
Obviously the mains, and then I was right under those guys and in all the stuff with them, and I felt that's what makes it feel like a family, is that I feel like people are very true to their word, and there's a lot of honor and integrity that I've experienced going on at Hallmark. I think it's a wonderful channel to be a part of and also to support, quite frankly.
Yeah, well, support, because Autumn had talked about how it was one of the only people that said, we'll bring your kids, we'll take care of them while you're doing the kind of thing, and have been able to do that the whole time she's been working for them. So that's amazing, because you don't see that anywhere. It's like, oh no, bring the kids, fly them out, we'll take care of them kind of a thing. That's rare in any industry.
So rare. No, I didn't know that. That's wonderful. I'm so happy to hear it.
Yeah. That was a great one too. 27-hour day. You guys were awesome in that one. You guys should do another one together. Yeah, I'm just saying.
I'd like to do one with because Andrew Walker makes so many.
Oh yeah.
I said casually in some other podcast, I was like, I want to do one where I'm the number two, because I'd be the two with him, and he's the number one, like the lead.
Yes.
Yeah, he messaged me back and he was like, "Yeah, let's make it happen." And so I
Sure.
think he is definitely one of the big hitters up at in the
Without
Hollywood
doubt.
world.
Without doubt.
Yeah, it's what I'm aiming for. I'm aiming for a movie with Andrew Walker.
Well, there you go. I think it's going to happen. I really do think it's going to be
so
happening.
too. Or I'll take Tyler Hines again. I had a great time with him.
Yep,
I've been so lucky. I've had a lot of
Yeah.
They're all lovely. They're all such nice people, and it's just a pleasure to go to work and make these movies with them.
Well, that's awesome. That I love to hear that, and I'm sure they speak the same of you. Yeah, I mean, it's evident in this interview, and I mean, you're just a gem, and I have no doubt that people want to work with you, and because it's all about being a good human being. If you're a good human being, people want to be with you, and people want to work with you, right? And
I'm going to interrupt you for a second.
No.
You are such a fantastic host. Like, truly, I'm telling you, we're still live. I know this. I could have waited till we finished. But I really know you're phenomenal. I have thoroughly, I can't imagine how anyone would not enjoy speaking to you. You're such a pleasure.
Well, wow. Now you have me blushing over here. It's like, okay. Thank you. I appreciate that though. I have a really fun time doing what we do, and this whole podcast thing started off as a way to get publicity for the film stuff, and and to meet people, to network with people, and it's now we're in our 7th year, and it's just it became bigger than we ever thought, and we had one of the last interviews with Ed Asner, and the amount of people that we've been able to interview is just crazy. And we look back over the 7 years and we're like, wow, this, yeah.
You know when people love what they do, and that is so abundantly clear. And I'm sure anybody listening can also tell that, which is, of course, why you have such an audience.
Yeah, and and it has been a wonderful way to meet people in the industry, and we've been so blessed to become friends with so many of them, and they help us with our film stuff, and we help them as much as we can with their film stuff, and because it really is. I think a lot of people don't realize it really is a very small community, and everybody knows everybody. So who you are, that's who they know you as. So if you're that person, well, you're that. But so I think being a good human being is important.
I think so too. I totally agree.
Yeah, in real life too. Not just in the industry.
Yeah, no,
Let's not just talk about work.
Yeah.
I try to be a good human being in general, but so far so good. I think it's worked out. I mean, he married my daughter. I can't be that bad. I mean, it's just I think I always mess with him on that, but it's like they always say daughters want to marry their dads, and so because we get told all the time we're so much alike. I tell him he's like me, 20 years ago, or and there's a lot of similarities, and my daughter hates it every time I say it, but it's true.
True.
It's true. You married Dad. And she's like, Dad, no. But it's great though to be able to do what I do with him every day, and then see how happy they are, and just like it's an amazing dynamic that I've just been truly blessed with. So it's amazing. Okay. We're trying a little something new on season 7. We're throwing these into the interview now. We're calling them our popcorn questions. So I'm gonna hit you with some popcorn questions. Okay. First one being the funniest moment and or memorable moment on set.
Oh no. Oh my gosh, I always get so stumped by this. And then whenever something funny or memorable happens, I think to myself, I have to remember this, and then I don't, I swear, and I'm so sorry. That is like the worst answer I could possibly give. I don't, but I promise you the next time we speak.
All right. I'm going to hold you to it. All right, the second one's kind of fun. If you could live inside a film or a television show, which one would it be and why?
Oh, one of my absolute favorite movies is Finding Nemo.
Of course.
With my namesake, I think that I would just love, and I think that's the Great Barrier Reef, I'm pretty sure. So that's in Australia.
Yeah.
I would just love to swim around with those little fishies and be in that movie. very happy.
Okay, I can see it. You should definitely voice one. You could definitely voice one. Oh, without doubt. I think. Okay, I've got so many phone calls to make on your behalf. I'm going to call Disney. I'm going to call no. I'll call Bob right up and tell him, hey, got a person for you. You've kind of mentioned this one just before we started this, but if there's anyone else, if you could work with anyone, who would you want to work with?
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna give like a really lame answer, but we have sort of touched on a bunch of people I'd like to work with. I just want to get back and do those Nikki and Noras. That's all I want.
Yeah.
And I had like a very deep soulmate connection with Hunter King, and to get to go back and work with her again, it's the absolute top of my to-do list.
All right. No, hey, it doesn't have to be somebody you've never worked with before. It's somebody you want to work with again. Yeah, that's a good one. All right, these next two are kind of like the Barbara Walters questions. We're going to get deep. If you could, and I'm really interested about this one just because of all the stuff we've talked about, if you could go back and tell your 10-year-old self something, what would you say?
That always makes me emotional. That's one of the things that we work a lot on in therapy. It's like, if you could talk to little Rhiannon, what would you say to her?
Yeah.
And I think something, I know we're in the popcorn section, so I won't get too heavy.
No, that's why we say this is the Barbara Walters one. If you cry, you cry. It's all good. Just get.
I think that it's beneficial for all of us to remember the little versions of us. And I think we can be, this was literally, so I answer very candidly. I felt that I was too much when I was a little kid, that I was too much. I was too dramatic. I was like, it was all too much. And that I was annoying and, all the things. But I would go back and tell little Rhiannon that, like, you're not, that you're good as you are. You're perfect as you are. Don't change all these things that you think you need to change. You really don't, because ultimately I think then when you grow up, those are the things that make you special.
Yeah, exactly. Right. How many of us think that if we had done this differently, if we had done that differently, and you shouldn't do anything differently, because you are who you are because of, right?
Exactly. And I do believe, and I know this is a privileged thing to say, but I do believe that everything works out for the most part exactly the way it's supposed to.
No, I'm a strong believer in that. I believe everything happens for a reason. I believe it happens when it's supposed to happen. And if you get off track, the universe has a funny way of putting you back on track to get you where you're supposed to go. I'm a strong believer in that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. The last one. Are you happy with your career so far, with where you're at?
I'm so happy, and I feel so lucky to be able to say that. That's also something that I really try and practice, because then I think that if we're not grateful in the moment, we are constantly chasing the next thing and being like, okay, well,
Exactly.
I gotta get bigger, I gotta get more successful, and then you're actually just missing the moment.
Yeah.
And I think that's so. Yes, I am very happy with where I'm at right now. I'm very, very grateful.
No, and I love that you brought that up, because gratitude. That's my tattoo right there. Gratitude. It's the symbol for. It's important, right, to always be grateful for where you're at and what you have and how things are going, because I think you brought it up perfectly. Once you lose sight of that and you start chasing things for the wrong reasons, that's when things start going bad, right? It's gonna come. If you're a good person and you're doing things right, it's going to come. So Yeah. Wow. I knew this was going to be a great interview. You are just an absolute gem. I am so glad we were able to make this happen, because you are just amazing and wonderful. Obviously open invite. I think that goes without saying that, we have to have you back on anytime you want to come back on and talk about anything, even just to shoot the shit. You don't even have to anything to promote. Just come on and talk. I feel like I could talk to you for hours. Like, you're so easy to talk to. I mean, it's just amazing. And plus, now Logan's definitely going to want to have you back on. He's like, no, I have to talk to her. Yeah. He's got to do it. But seriously, you have just been amazing. And even, open invite for the other podcast. We do a second podcast. It's mental health based. And I think that you would be amazing.
Sign me up. I would love to.
I really would, just because of the earlier stuff that we had talked about. I think it
Yeah.
would be amazing to have you on and talk about what you've overcome and the things that you've done. And I think it would help so many people. And we refer to it all the time as our biweekly therapy session. We talk about things that we've never. I dove deep into the death of my father and just all kinds of stuff on there that I've never publicly spoken about. And
a space to do that, because like even we're all so quick to go, yeah, it's fine, don't worry about
Yep.
it, no, it's all good, we're good, it's just I'll just brush over something.
Yeah,
But to
yeah.
have space and an audience where you know that that's where you're going to dive into these things, I think that that is so cool. And I would honestly, I don't say this lightly, I would be honored to come on and have a chat.
Well, then we're going to make that happen, because I think you would be amazing on it, and we'd love to talk to you more about that stuff. And, it's early on when we launched it. It was like what you said about when you did your video and the people that came into your DMs saying, "Oh my gosh, thank you." Kind of, that's the responses that we were getting. I had no idea. I didn't know that anybody else had gone through that, or I didn't know that, or even friends and family, like, that's the first time I've ever heard you say anything about that, or I didn't know that about you. So, I think, yeah, we say all the time, if we can just have one person be helped by what we do, by sharing our story, then it's totally worth it.
All about.
Yeah, so,
Totally
yeah. Well, awesome. We're going to have you back on both then.
Yes, please.
Thank you so much for doing this. I just really had a great time. You are a phenomenal human being. It just a gem, and I couldn't be more grateful for that you came on and did this.
Thank you. Take care, and I can't wait. Yeah, reach out. We'll set up the next one.
Yeah, no doubt. Listen, take care, and we'll be in touch soon, okay?
All right. Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Wow. I mean, I gotta say, bravo to you, because the amount of compliments that she freaking gave you in that interview was, I'm a little jealous. It's fine. It's fine. But I mean, seriously, like the amount of times she said, like, I haven't talked about this before, and thank you for being so candid. Like, it was just a really honest and personal interview that I feel like she's never had the chance to do.
Well, first of all, thank you. And yeah, I'm not gonna lie. She had me blushing several dozen times, and I don't blush easily, but she had me blushing a lot. But I appreciated her kind words about my interviewing and stuff like that. But I always, and you and I talk about this all the time, I always like when we can have a guest feel comfortable enough and safe enough to be able to open up like she did, right? That means that we're providing an environment or a space to where she felt comfortable enough to speak about such things. So I that meant a great deal to me, that she was able to open up and talk about things that aren't always easy to talk about. When you start talking about mental health, like depression and anxiety and things that you're going through like that, that's a hard thing to do. And so, it was amazing. And I also just love how she was just throwing stuff out there about, yeah, I've always wanted to do a musical. I want to swim around the Great Reef in Finding Nemo. She was also a lot of fun. I don't want people to think that it was just so heavy all the time. It was a lot of fun. She's really quirky and just a really great gem. So thank you again, Rhiannon, for coming on the show.
Yes, man, it was so good, so good. But now it is time for our top 5 segment. And we teased it this past week about what it was going to be. And it is top 5 best summer movies of all time. Man, oh man. Now, I only wanted to approach it from my lifetime. That's for sure. And the times that I started going to the movies. And I feel like most recently, this one, I mean, nobody was expecting the numbers that it did. That's for sure. Did Barbenheimer have something to do with it? Maybe. Yes, it did. Let's be honest. It did. But, I mean, number 5 for me is Oppenheimer. I mean, we've talked about this movie so much, and the aspects of filmmaking is just brilliant. Christopher Nolan. Oh, my God. Let me not just, okay. Anyway, I just, it's such an amazing thing that I feel like it had people believe in film again. And I feel like, you can be a filmmaker, be a story-driven film, and also generate beautiful numbers at the box office. And that's what this film proved. So number 5 for me, Oppenheimer.
Well, I love it. I can't argue that pick at all. And of course it had to be on this list because, like I said, I think it might now be the greatest film of all time made. Yeah. And so it had to be on a list. My number 5, can you talk about the greatest summer movies of all time without talking about some summer lovin'? It happened so fast. I'm talking, of course, about Grease, the ultimate summer movie where they fell in love during the summer and then had to go back to school and pretend that they were two totally different people. Come on. I think this was just a brilliant movie. You can't go wrong. The soundtrack was epic, talking about the bad guy who's really in heart a good guy, I just love this movie. Anybody who doesn't love this movie, what's wrong with you? I'm just going to leave it at that. If you haven't seen, stay away from Grease 2. I love Michelle Pfeiffer, but stay the fuck away from Grease 2. Worst summer movie of all time. But one of the best, my number 5, Grease. Check it out if you've never seen it. It's worth it. Trust me.
So funny, man. So funny. Number 4 for me goes to the original Avengers film. I remember this vividly. It was like my freshman year in high school. Not to age myself, but it was like my freshman year in high school. And literally, we were about to get out of school, and everybody was talking about this film. Whether it be they're going to go see it or the aftermath of just watching it and how it was completely revolutionary to bring all of these freaking people in on one set and bring them to this film. And it felt like everybody had their own piece that they brought to it. So I felt like that was very special. And what it did was bring a community of people who aren't necessarily comic book people or who weren't really into superhero movies before to a place where they were very intrigued. And some people started watching Marvel movies because of the first Avengers. So it's very interesting. It's very intriguing. And it's honestly one of my favorites of all time. You can go back and watch our Marvel ranked video and see where I ranked that on our YouTube page. But yes, I love this film. We watch it all the time on repeat. So number 4 for me, the original Avengers movie.
Yes. I mean, I can't argue with anything you just said there. One of the greatest movies ever, and absolutely changed the game of cinema. I mean, it just did. Now I'm going to get very creative because I'm going to link your number 4 with my number 4. How am I going to do that? My number 4 starred Jennifer Grey, who, for a very long time, was married to Agent Coulson himself. So that they did sadly just recently announce that they were no longer together. They're getting a divorce, but they are friendly. It was amicable. They're so sadly. But there's my connection for any trivia out there. You didn't know Jennifer Grey was indeed married to him. My number 4 is Dirty Dancing. Again, another ultimate summer movie that, in all honesty, in the 80s became, if The Breakfast Club was a rite of passage for just teenagers in general, Dirty Dancing was a rite of passage for females. It's like if you didn't watch it, you weren't ready to be a woman. It's just legitimately, women flocked to this thing just in unbelievable numbers. This was I can't tell you how people freaked out. And if you drove by any pool or any beach or any lake in anywhere in the country during the time this movie was out, you saw somebody hoisting their woman up above them. And everybody was doing, we could do that. It was everywhere. If you don't know what I'm talking about, what? Go watch Dirty Dancing. You will be happy that you did. It's very fun. It's very, God, rest in peace, Patrick Swayze, one of his best roles ever, no doubt about it. And, just Dirty Dancing. I don't even know what else to say about it. I hoisted several of them up in the water. I'm not even going to lie. Several of them. They were all like, can you do me? Do me? I'm like, all right. It's just, the 80s.
Goofy as shit.
But
were some weird
awesome.
Anyway, my number 3 goes to a more recent one, which is Elvis. I feel like the anticipation around this film was absolutely insane from younger audiences and older audiences. And that was the beauty of this film that came out a couple of years ago. I feel like it connected a lot of older and younger audiences, because in a world that is so divided, whether that be political or generational or what have you, social media-esque, it is something that I feel like everybody was talking about. I mean, Austin Butler definitely embodied Elvis.
No doubt.
He became Elvis, which I loved it. I mean, it was very polarizing. Some people didn't like it, some people did. But I really enjoyed it, and I learned a lot about the king of rock and roll. And I am also very proud of Austin Butler, who took Tom Hanks's advice, who said, "Be sure to stay busy after this role," because I mean it's been nothing but success for that man, and he's kind of lost the Elvis accent.
It
So
took him
it's
a while,
good.
but yeah.
It took him a while. It took him a while, but I mean, it's awesome to see because all of the things that he's been in have been great.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, freaking Dune, Masters of the Air,
Oh,
and
yeah,
a couple
yeah.
of others. We're about to have the bike riders, but it's really good to see that this man is here to stay. But yeah, Elvis, it was definitely a conversation starter that I feel like, a lot of people learned a lot about. So
No
number
doubt.
3 for me, Elvis.
No doubt, no doubt. My number 3, this again is I consider one of the greatest films ever made. I absolutely love this film.
Agreed.
I'm talking about Stand By Me. So it's a group of boy friends that are on the hunt for a dead body, and it's just all about growing up, and it's about different classes of kids, some middle class, and then kids who aren't so lucky. They're struggling. Dad's an addict and beating them, and one's just trying to escape, knowing that he'll probably never escape the town because he's going to be stuck there just because that's who he is. And how somehow all these kids are like best friends. And while they're trying to hunt down the body, they got the older brothers trying to also find the body, and Kiefer Sutherland, oh my gosh, so just... But River Phoenix and Will Wheaton and Jerry O'Connell, this is an amazing film about friendship. It really, what it comes down to is an amazing film about friendship and the lengths that you will go for your best friend. And it's one of those, if you haven't watched it, it's very dialogue driven. It's almost narrated. Richard Dreyfuss narrates it through a sense or whatever, but yeah, just an unbelievable movie, and at times sometimes hard to watch. It gets a little emotional, but totally worth it. Totally worth it to watch it, and I think, it sticks with me every time it's on. I stop and watch it. Like if I'm flipping and I see it, I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna finish watching this. Doesn't matter where it's at in the movie. I'm like, no, I'm gonna finish watching this. It's that good. So if you guys haven't seen it, check it out. Stand By Me.
Yeah, I mean it's one of those. Yeah, it's so good. It's like almost a perfect film.
Oh.
Like it falls in one of those categories. It really does.
Every time they're on the railroad tracks and like, oh shit, train.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just,
So
I
wild.
mean, yeah, man, yeah.
So good, so good. Number 2 for me goes to Black Widow. Now I feel like I picked this film specifically because we were all ready to get back to the theater. And the crazy thing is, I mean, I remember it being around COVID time and the bubble was happening for the NBA finals and the NBA playoffs, and they got to watch it before we got to watch it. And I was kind of pissed, but it was like, whatever, that's fine. But when we finally were able to watch it, it was almost like breathing fresh air again, to be able to be back in the theater. It was a beautiful thing because you really see who the Marvel fans are. The Marvel fans, yes, can be a lot. I'm not going to lie. We can be a lot, especially those who have X and Twitter and social media at the thumb of their hands. But, I mean, I feel like no matter what, they're bitching and complaining.
Yeah.
But they're going to that movie.
Oh.
They're going to that theater
Every time.
single time.
Every time.
So, I mean, it's one of those things where even during a worldwide pandemic, we still, when the movie theaters opened back up, we went and saw Black Widow. So it was something that it's monumental and historic, in my opinion, because for me and for us, it was the first film we went back to the theater to after something like this had happened.
Yep.
So that's why I put it on my list. Number 2 for me, Black Widow.
There you go. My number 2, it's on my list because 4th of July, do you get more summer than the 4th of July? I don't think so. And it's, for me, one of the greatest cinematic speeches of all time. Hands down. When the president gives the speech that today They're fighting for the world's Independence Day. It's so powerful. And of course, I'm talking about Independence Day, when the aliens come and the whole world has to get together to stand ground and get rid of these motherfuckers and save the earth. And of course, led by the United States, because we're the badass motherfuckers. Look, I think this movie, it's pretty much, and maybe some people will argue, but I just think it true, the height of Will Smith's popularity at that point, like massive, when he's at his biggest, largest, he can't do anything wrong kind of a thing. This is it. And Harry Connick Jr. and just like, there's so many great, little tiny Mae Whitman's in this one. Just so many phenomenal people in this film, but I loved it because, you know, it seems like there's always something going on in the world where there's tension and there's wars. And this was a movie where he said, you know what? When it comes down to it, we're all just human beings. We're all just fighting to survive. And why are we enemies? We can unite. And this movie shows that with just some patience and a little communication, we're all just living the same life. We're all just trying to make it in this world, and we're better together and stronger together than we are separate. And I think that was the message that this film really tried to send. And you know, let's unite, just have a peaceful world, and if some alien motherfuckers come, we got this shit. Like, that's basically. But I mean, come on, the visuals in this thing, when you're seeing the fucking White House blow up and just it's just over the top, crazy. And Jeff Goldblum. Enough said. Jeff Goldblum flying with Will Smith into outer space is worth watching it right there. So just, my number 2, Independence Day.
It's one of the, it's timeless.
Like, it is.
Good. It's so good.
And I watch it every 4th of July. I'm not even going to lie. If it's the 4th of July, I put that fucking movie on because I have to hear that speech every 4th of July, man.
It's like, so good.
It is.
Good. Well, number 1 for me, I feel like this film was, honestly, when I was a kid, I felt like this franchise was the biggest thing after Star Wars that had ever happened. Because I think it cultivated a lot of different communities to where it wasn't necessarily like the raunchiest thing. It was obviously geared towards kids, but it was a good family film that adults find entertaining and still do. Of course, they went off the deep end with a little too many sequels and possibly bringing it back. But I'm talking about Pirates of the Caribbean. The first one, I think they did a phenomenal job, man. I mean, obviously, Johnny Depp. This is the height of Johnny Depp.
Without doubt.
Will Smith, but this is the height of Johnny Depp. And Orlando Bloom, I mean, you could argue to say that was the height of him as well. And Keira Knightley and like everybody who was in this film just gelled so well together. And I mean, it's kind of like Mafia. People have the same obsession with mobsters that they kind of do with pirates. I mean, people always kind of get the vague understanding of the underworld, either in the cities or in the sea, and all of these different things. And even to where I remember being, how old was I? I think I was like in first grade or something like that.
Shut the fuck up, bro.
Shut up. Like first grade. And I went home. It was like, when I grow up, I'm going to be a freaking pirate. Like, it was one of those things where like, it was, I mean, I also think the first one is timeless as well. So yeah, I think it's one of those that it defines cinema as well, to try to cultivate a audience that both the children and adults would like. So yeah, number 1 for me, Pirates of the Caribbean.
I think first grade's probably right because your wife was still a baby, like a baby. Yeah. So I think you're about right with like when that was. And I'm sure if not, Jason will call us out on the air.
Yeah, always.
Always. Okay, for my number 1, I only need to say one thing. We're gonna need a bigger boat. Right away, you know what I'm talking about. You don't even have to go anywhere else. This had to be on the list, and it had to be number 1, because without this film, there is no such thing as the greatest summer films of all time, because it is the godfather of the OG summer blockbuster, Jaws. Without Jaws, summer blockbusters, summer movies, they don't exist. There's no such thing. This was the first tentpole, the first Big Daddy that was considered a summer blockbuster. The one now everybody chases, Jaws, Steven Spielberg. I I don't even have to talk much about this one. You know what Jaws is. You know what it did for cinema. You know what it did for Steven Spielberg. And the rest is history. I mean, if you enjoy summer blockbusters, thank you, Steven Spielberg. And that giant fucking shark, because that's why you have them. And if you want to see that, go to the Academy Museum, because he's hanging. The Jaws is hanging there. Go check that out. It's badass. But yeah, my number one, Jaws, man. Gotta do it.
So fun, so fun. Well, we want to know, what is your favorite summer movie of all time? Be sure to comment below in the YouTube comment section or add us on Threads, X, anywhere, man. We love the fan interaction.
Anywhere.
We want to talk to you about different things. It's always so fun. It's always so fun. We're here to build a community. That's for sure. Now we're heading over to the box office recap, man. Bad Boys Ride or Die came in at number 1 with $56 million. And I did just see an article that said they passed $1 billion or some. They just passed
for the franchise.
For the whole entire franchise, which is awesome, because it's crazy to say, and I didn't think this franchise would be one of those, but it's still entertaining. It's still successful, which is very surprising, because some of these can go off the deep end sometimes.
This is my favorite one out of all of them. I thought it was just like it's phenomenal. It's got everything you want from an action movie or action comedy buddy cop movie thing. Yeah. Everything that you could possibly want. It's from start to finish. It's entertaining. There's not a single part of this movie where I was bored. I was like all in on every aspect of it. They wrap up all of the other movies into this one. They tie them all together. It's a brilliant story. And they kind of set it up for another one, even though they've said this is kind of the last one. But you could further the story with the son. I think that's where they're kind of setting it up to go forward, as if we're going to follow it, it's going to follow his son. This one's I loved it. I loved it. And I'm glad it came out and kind of pumped the box office with a little push that we needed to get it going, you know?
For sure. But it's definitely going to be dethroned this week with Inside Out 2. No doubt about it. Number 2 came in with the Garfield movie with $10 million. The animated guy right now, who is Chris Pratt, so good for him. Number 3 was If with $8 million. Number 4 was The Watchers with $7 million. And number 5 was Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes with $5.4 million.
Yes.
And like we've been talking about this whole entire show, the new movie that is coming out this week, the big one, Inside Out 2. But there are a couple of others. Fresh Kills, Reverse the Curse, Queendom, and Ghost Light. So catch those at your local cinemas near you, or find them. Find them.
Yeah, good luck. I think Inside Out's going to take up most of the screens, but good luck if you can find those.
For sure. The summer movie right there, Inside Out 2. Movies you can still go see, though. You got The Fall Guy, Fruosia, The Mad Max Saga, The Strangers Chapter 1, Godzilla X Kong New Empire, and Tuesday. So be sure to check all of those out. And then we're heading over, of course, to the IMDb Pro's Top Trending segment, where the top trending movie is Fruosia, a Mad Max Saga. And the top trending show is The Acolyte, the new Star Wars show, which is actually really good. I don't know if you've checked that out.
I have. I watched the first episode last night. Fucking loved it. I'm going to be watching the second episode tonight. And, of course, that makes sense for the trending star, Daphne Keane, because she's one of the stars in it. And also X-23. I'm hoping she's, like, totally full of shit and lying her ass off about not being in Deadpool. We'll find out. But I love Daphne. She was so badass in Logan. And now she's badass in fucking Acolyte. She's a solid actress, bros. I like her. But if you guys haven't checked out The Acolyte yet, set 100 years before episode 1. So it's way back. But I loved it.
Yeah, for sure, man, for sure. Well, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to episode 261 of ITCAFpodcast. We appreciate you for coming back every single week.
Yes, we do.
We also got to thank our guest, Rhiannon Fish, for coming on the show. Be sure to follow her on Instagram, and she's on X, but more active on Instagram, so follow her there. And, of course, you can follow the company and podcast on social media. The company is at Crazy Ant Media. The film is at The LP Film, because we are in pre-production, so be sure to check that out. And then, of course, the podcast at ITCAFpodcast, and our mental health podcast that we'll be coming out with again in the next couple weeks.
Yep.
Everything's OKP, so be sure to check that out. And then, of course, you can follow us personally on social media. Myself at JLoganAustin and
At Crazy Ant CEO.
there it is, man. There it is. And you can subscribe to this podcast on any podcast platforms that you listen to podcasts on.
True.
We're on Spotify. We're on Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Stitcher, and so much more. And then, of course, we have our YouTube channel. If you're listening to this, please be sure to go to YouTube, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell for all the latest and greatest notifications that we have coming out of Crazy Ant Media.
Yes.
It's always a bloody good time, so we appreciate every single one of you. And then, of course, be sure to visit our website, www.crazyantmedia.com, where you can start rocking that latest and greatest Crazy Ant Media gear. We have anything and everything you need for your merchandise needs. That is for sure.
Yes.
But man, oh man, what a great freaking show. I gotta say, other than the interview, because the interviews are always a highlight.
Oh, yeah.
That is for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Our CBS and Skydance conversation about what the hell is going on with Sherry, I think that was probably my favorite conversation because I've been doing a lot of keeping up with that one.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just good to bring different perspectives and to see what's going to happen. Hopefully there's still a Paramount within the next 10 years, but who the fuck knows, man.
Oh, dude, I'm right there with you. In fact, I'm already weaving and crafting storylines of the series that we're writing.
Right.
Based on Sherry. I feel like there's going to be a lot going on there that we can incorporate into our little drama series. Because she's given us plenty of content, I'm just saying. Yeah, I really enjoyed that aspect of it, too. And I always, of course, love talking about the ups and downs of Disney and what's happening there. We hear that great news about Deadpool and Wolverine and then have to hear the disaster about Blade, right? It's always like this, right? So, but I love talking about that because that's real life and that's how it works. So, yeah, man, we're back. I love being back and talking about what we love while we're making a movie. It doesn't get any better than that. It just really doesn't, man. Living the dream. And it's because of you guys letting us do it.
That's right, man. That is for sure. And all we need is that one successful backer. That's all we need. And I mean, I have a perfect person, but we just need to get her on the phone. She would be freaking amazing.
Yo.
That is for sure. The one, the only
Oprah! Give us a call.